have a concept. You have a great concept. You guys are doing it, man. And it's an honor for me to just be, you know, a small rock, man, in your mountain. I'm going to pop a top in your honor.
Mr. Doc Walker blessed us with his presence, and now
we want to welcome in our next special guest, Haley Skarupa. She's a three-time world champion in women's ice hockey and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Cap Stadium Series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Caps fan. I always have been. And to be there at that game with my teammates and for us to bring, you know, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me. And just the support and it's been tremendous from everyone in this area, and you can feel that there at that game.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network.
Be good if I started with the screen on. But anyway, welcome to episode 354 of Sports on the Hill podcast. And I'm joined today by Anna, and we're going to bring in Gil as well. I'm trying to share to a couple of different groups. We're live on a bunch of different platforms, including Facebook and Twitch and YouTube. And oh no, Gil, you okay?
Yeah, I'm having a little trouble with something.
Okay.
All right, I think I got it now. Sorry, I'll explain here in a second.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh, no. Well, welcome on in. We've got Gil and Anna from the Power Play Point podcast, and I want to welcome in all the people that are watching live on Twitch, including Carly, who just resubscribed, and so I really appreciate that as always. And yeah, it's been a pretty crazy week. I'm wearing a shirt to commemorate how long I've hated the city of Pittsburgh for. And it started off in the playoffs of 2001, and I continue to this day to feel that feeling towards them. So they unfortunately are the thorn in the side for me in this podcast, because not only did the city take away the nearly perfect week for the Capitals, but it also the first game I got to go back since 2018. I hadn't been since the pandemic, all of that. And Carol, CP3, CEO of Sports on the Hill podcast, took me with his amazing tickets that he has. And I even am wearing the all-you-can-eat and drink band that you get. Non-alcoholic drinks, but still great. They just like hand you waters and they give you chicken tenders and hot dogs and fries. And we had a good time. It was a great game. It sucks that we were on the wrong side of it. I think the officiating sucks, and a couple of different questionable times it made a difference, but we'll get into that in an hour or two as some of my football experts, because I'll be curious to hear what it seemed like from home, because in person it just felt like the refs were giving them a lot of help, and they don't need the help. And it seems sucky that we're, as the home team, from at least the people I was talking to, this seems to be a constant trend that we are winning in spite of the refereeing, at home, which is, you're supposed to get the home cooking. But anyway, so we'll digress. We'll talk about that Pittsburgh loss in a little bit. Unfortunately, there's one in the hockey world as well. But we do have a couple of other games that we'll talk about, some wins in there as well. But I want to start off by welcoming back Anna. I know that you're not feeling well, but I really appreciate you for coming on and doing this. I hope that you are feeling a little bit better, but how are you doing?
You know what, I was just to tell you, Gil, I feel fine. I sound terrible. But I also just got a message earlier today that not my assistant, my co-teacher has pneumonia. So I'm hoping that that's not what I have, since I missed last week. But I've just been like, this annoying cough that, like, as soon as you're like, I'm ready to go to sleep, and it's like, well, I'm not. I'm ready to
Yeah.
just keep you up with an annoying cough. So, no, but I'm glad to be here. I'm sorry about last week.
Oh yeah, no problem. I mean, I totally understand. As a person who deals with both sickness at a workplace, but also, child care of multiple different types. Both my kids were running minor fevers tonight, even. So who knows?
Yeah.
And I had a headache earlier. So it's just that time of year when you work at a school. So
That and this
I get it.
crazy weather.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is
like
strange.
ridiculously, I'm like, okay, a little bit temperature change here and there, but the kids and I went to see a movie today, and it was like, oh my God, it is like 75,
No,
and
it's
tomorrow's
beautiful.
supposed to be like 52.
Yes, yes. And I see Sith is joining us on Twitch, and Sith is actually going to be joining us at the top of the next hour to talk football with us tonight. So I'm excited to have him back on as one of our original football guys. Him
Absolutely.
and Champ do a show together, so it's fun to have both of them together, the No Spots podcast. And so I look
Well, and
forward.
Seth always posts like the great like 80 movies memes,
Yeah,
and I'm like, yeah, I'm right there with you, and
nice.
quotes and things. So I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get to know him better because I'm like, I'm right there with you.
Yes, yes, he does a great programming called Down in the Basement, and so you get to hear his thoughts on lots of different music. And so we've talked about lots of different topics over the years. So he's great. So yeah, I'm sorry that you're not feeling well. I'm happy that the Caps did better than I was getting nervous this week, right? Because the Blues game really changed the my thoughts on the whole week, right? So if they hadn't won that, I would have been pretty bummed coming into this podcast for a whole host of reasons. But so I'm thankful for that. We will start at the beginning with the Predators game. But before we do that, I want to bring in Gil. And I also want to let people know you can obviously check both of them out on the Power Play Point podcast. And they recorded last night. But Gil, give people a brief what you were up to. And while you do that, I will set up for our goal scoring situation.
Sure. So this week's episode, we dedicated in part at least to Veterans Day. It's Day weekend. Today is the actual celebration. So there's a message at the end, towards the end, delivered through me by one of our longtime listeners who dedicated 20-year career of his life to the United States Army, Staff Sergeant Chris Levesque. So I wanted to acknowledge him. And we did our recap of the 4 games since last Sunday. We didn't get a chance to cover the Carolina game because the NHL schedule maker is still taking illegal substances. So it was actually 4 games we had to cover. So we went through those, and we happened to make the first game of the week the Nashville game, the focus game, because lot of character building went on in that game, as we'll talk about here as well. So if you haven't downloaded it and or listened to it yet, do please do that. And if you love us enough, give us a shout and a subscribe. We really love that as well. Just one last note: we're always looking for fans to come on, give their take. Haven't had one yet. Where are you guys? We know you're out there. We know you want to talk about this team.
We're not scary. I'm not scary. I'm not
even
a jerk.
Even when she's down with the sickness, she's not scary. So
I like it. Yeah, no, they're great. I've been on the show many times. I can vouch for they're a lot of fun, just like they are tonight. It's very similar. And you don't even have to have the added pressure of being on camera. You can just call in as if you were calling a radio show, which is, how we all got started, was the idea of what happens if we did a call-in radio show, but instead of turning the caller off after 2 minutes in their question and then going and talking about whatever they want to talk about, you actually let them sit at the table and have a conversation with us as hosts. And, whether it be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the whole show, you could try it out for a little bit, stay for the whole thing. There's lots of options. And I think that it's definitely something that people should go check out for sure. Yeah, I do want to mention a couple of quick little things, housekeeping things. We are watching a Monday Night Football game where the Miami Dolphins are up 10-0 over the Los Angeles Rams. And right now it is halftime with the Rockets up 57-49, I believe it was. So we'll be monitoring the second half of that game And we'll have our Wizards roundtable later. We'll have Tim, Arun, joining Ken and myself to talk about all different sports, including the Ravens and their crazy win last Thursday and stuff like that. And that'll be at the end of the show. And we'll also talk a little wrestling as well. So a lot of stuff happening in tonight's show. But as we're going to get into it, it was the Connor McMichael show this week. And so I like that the first goal we're going to get to talk about is the aforementioned Connor McMichael, who's having an amazing start to the season, but also just these last couple of weeks. Him and Ovechkin have put up some of the best numbers. And in fact, I believe they were the first duo, two players to play for the same team, to break the 10-goal mark. Their teammates this year, which is exciting because sometimes secondary scoring doesn't come from our team. And Gil, what are your thoughts on that before we get into the games this week?
So both McMichael and Protas, I saw something somewhere where they are considered. There's a meme going around. They are considered two of the top 5 most improved NHL skaters this year, and obviously that's contributed a lot to the success that they've had so far this year. But I think a certain player who wears number 8 and another certain player who wears number 43 have also had something to do with that as well, and some new acquisitions. Did you want to go ahead and break down this first goal, or?
Yeah, well, we'll get into it in a second. What I'm just kind of amazed by is at this age, first of all, after week 1, people were already writing him off, right? But beyond that, he's on pace to hit 50 this year and totally eclipse this thing. I don't think he's going to necessarily do that. I think we'll have some ups and downs throughout the season as happens. But just a remarkable start for him. And we talked about it last week. I still can't believe that it was the first time that Ovechkin and Crosby were both, top 3 stars at the same time. And, for them to then play each other after that, it would be the first time they were ever reigning, the first 3 stars of the week when they play each other. So I just thought that is kind of an incredible statistic that lives in my head there. And Ovechkin kept it going this week with McMichael. We can get into this game. The Predators game, unfortunately, 3 minutes in, they get the first goal. And what I love is Connor McMichael answers about 1 minute and 26 seconds later. And so I'll let Gil take it from there.
Okay, so on this play, Dubois gets it going. Tommy gets the lane and the right wing circle, fires a shot. Great rebound, picks it up. Dubois picks it back up, throws it back to Roy at the point, as you can see, fires it really quickly. This is a great goal, I thought, by McMichael, because he actually out-dueled the goalie, Saros. He actually kind of poke checked it away from him, and then kind of got his own recovery and then snapped it into the net, beating the goalie. So sorry, not Saros.
Yeah. All right, Anna.
No comment. No comment. But Gil and I, when we spoke about this yesterday, I said I feel like we are having a proud mom and dad moment of watching Connor McMichael just explode this season and just kick ass and come into his own. And holy shit, look at him getting this 8th. Welcome back, Roy, and Dubois with 6. It was fantastic, and I'm just loving this Connor McMichael confidence that he's got going on for himself right now and for the team.
I was hearing there was some audio skipping going on, and I was wondering if I have too many things going on at the same time. So I'm going to lower the resolution of one of the things I'm watching. I just want people, feel free to let me know if it's still skipping, because I obviously would care less about the Wizards than I do about the audio of my podcast. So we'll put it that way. So just let me know in the comments if you still hear that it is skipping, or if you think that it has gotten better. And if it's still having an issue, I will change some more settings. So, but thank you, Carly and Sith, for letting me know about that. All right. So in the score is 10-3 now. There was a field goal for LA. I just want to point that out as well. But for Anna, if you do, I mean, you've been with us. We've now have this scoreboard thing. I have a whole new scene dedicated to it. So it looks really cool on Facebook now as well. I think we've perfected this great new feature of being able
I
to
love it.
see how the goal is scored, and you can see all the buildup, and it's been so consistent this year as going to the net, which is the big thing for me. Um, any final thoughts on this one, or should we go to the next goal?
Let's flip it to the next
Go to
one.
Protus.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna hold it here, and then we'll start it there. So I'll let Gil start it.
Okay, so play starts from here with Van Riemsdyk throwing it around the boards to Protus, who slips it over to Strome, and then these three kind of you talk about a line that's absolutely in sync. These three, look at the puck movement between these three. Roll it back a little bit, and show that again if you could, Robbie. Look at that puck movement. Look at that triangular puck movement right on the literally on the left or the right post rather. And then Protus has the presence of mind to break towards the net behind the defenders, getting behind the two defenders, and snaps it in.
Yep. So he basically creates his own opportunity from behind the net, and then he passes it out, and then he sees the option, but he doesn't. I like that he doesn't go right away. You see that where
Yes.
he could have easily gone right away, and the defenders would have closed back in on him.
Yeah.
Because he didn't go right away, they were both sucked up into Strom's business, right? And so because of that, it left a gap behind them. And just that split second makes all the difference in the world.
And that little bit of space was all that Protus needed to break free and get alone for Ovechkin to find him and then take it to the net.
Yeah.
Pretty good for a guy that only shoots.
Yeah. We immediately knew what was happening. It was a give and go, right? But instead of a give and go with the same guy, it was a give and go with the other one. So but it's great. We've talked about this a lot last week too. That the person who ends up getting the goal did a lot of the dirty work and a lot of the plays behind the scenes that really set himself up. And we're seeing more of that here. So this one was in the second period with the game tied 2-1. And then I believe, hold on, I'm trying to remember the order of the goals here. And then they tied it. Stamkos, 1534, his third of the season. It's still so strange for him to be on that team. I just thought he was going to be a lifer on Tampa Bay. How do you let somebody that means that much to your franchise go? I can't.
It's weird.
It's really weird. There's so
It
few
is really
players
weird.
left
I
that
don't
you
like
could
it.
say that could play from the same team from the start. You're talking about Crosby, Ovechkin, and him, right?
Yeah.
And so they have that opportunity in Tampa Bay for all that he's done for them, for how many cups, like how many Eastern Conference championships, like you pay the man whatever he wants. He gets to stay. I don't know.
No, that blows my mind. He deserves to be in that conversation. And yeah, from what I heard, they did not take even a fraction of his demands seriously. So almost no surprise that things ended up the way they ended up.
Yeah, I mean, I already don't like Tampa Bay, but I root for worse things for them. I just feel like
disrespect,
just disrespectful to a great in the game. And it's hard as a fan of another team to say that.
The fact that we're talking about him shows, there is a respect for Stamkos. I mean, my God, come on. But it is weird to see him in a Preds jersey. I don't like it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys. They said the audio does sound better, which I appreciate. I'm also just not really watching the Wizards, which is fine. Like I don't really need to have that in my life, but if anything does change, please feel free to let me know in the chat. A 2-minute warning. It's till 10-3 in that football game. But yeah, so it's just odd Stamkos thing. But anyway, we'll get into the next goal because the next goal is important. Because remember, at 15:34, it's now tied going into the third period. And our captain, the people that we do pay the money for to see continue to play for the team he drafted, But let's break this one down. Gil.
Okay, so Faravari starts this play with the dump into the zone. Now, this, I kind of wish we didn't have to worry about copyright and NHL BS, and that we could actually show the video, because I think we've been praising Strome, but not enough. Let's go over this one, and I will tell you what I mean here. You see that pass that Strome just made? We're going to roll it through again. So Strome, it gets the puck behind the net. Protas is acting as the decoy. If you could see, now obviously he's got to get it. This graphic shows that he's got to get it between two defenders. If we could see the actual video, it literally was like threading a needle. The amount of space that Strome had to slip the puck to Ovechkin was not much more than the width of the actual puck. He had two pairs of sticks and skates in his way, and the fact that he was still able to get through and find him, and how quickly he gets off the shot, absolutely amazing. This line is totally in sync, and I don't see anybody really stopping them at all, and this is a prime example of that.
Right. But also, 21 goes to the net hard, draws a bunch of, action, two defenders down low, so, it's
right. He's the decoy in this play, where they key in on him thinking he's going to recover the puck, and they don't see Ovechkin, who's right behind them on the top of that circle, ready to snap it in.
And this seems by design. So Ovechkin is a standard left winger, right? He's always been considered a left winger for our team. But notice how this is overload to the right. And it just seems to be a thing that they're trying this year, where they're trying to go away from his strong side and just push everything into a corner and see what happens. And this is not the first time I've seen plays like this develop this way, And so and then they sometimes sneak him back to his normal spot, the dot, all other stuff like that. But I've seen a more concerted effort to try to move him around a little bit more on the ice.
Which don't they need to do so he's not so predictable?
Yeah, no, I think it's
and I think that's, no, I mean, I get why they're doing it, and I totally agree with you, Robbie, but it's like, I love to see that they're doing that, but it's also that it's successful, and it just kicks ass.
Yeah.
Building on Anna's point, a certain other coach in the past already tried this with Ovechkin with, shall we say, very limited success. I think there wasn't really a plan with that, unlike this, which there is a method to the madness. There is an overall plan to make everybody better.
And I'm right. He's still playing right wing in this lineup, right?
Well, he's kind of flipping between the two. He's kind of trading off.
He's listed. Where is he listed?
Officially, he is a left wing still.
Okay. It's interesting because I thought when I read it that he was listed as a right wing, which is why it throws me off, because he was always listed as a left wing before.
No, the app has him. The app, if you go to the box score and the player listing, it does have him listed as a left wing.
Okay. But it's just interesting that they just interchange them now so much that it doesn't really, that meant a lot more where he was playing in previous years, I would say, where they're sneaking him down low on the right, back to the left point, and all over, and down low a lot. You see him down low left as well. And so it's exciting to see the resurgence of him and them using him in different ways. I do think, to your point, that it was the coaches weren't being strategic about it before. They were just trying something to try to jumble up and try something different. But yeah, anyway, it's exciting to see that, and this goal would stand up as the winner, and just shut them down in the third period, in the sense of no real goals scored. And I can't say enough about our goaltending. We'll talk about him a little bit more in the third game, but just to start a Capitals career, just one of the best ever, and if not the best, right? Just in terms of winning 7 without a loss. But I really like what I see from him. But Gil, what are some of your thoughts on how he's coming to the Caps?
Well, like you said, 7 straight wins, which is now a team record. Um, I don't want to start any controversies or ruffle any feathers, but if the trajectory stays the way it is, I think you're going to see him become the one in the 1A. They have an alternating scenario that they haven't deviated from yet, but I think when it comes closer to midseason, certainly closer to the playoffs, I think they're going to have to make a decision at that point who gets the majority of the starts, because you have to have that momentum. And like I said, if this trajectory continues, I think we're going to see a new number one in net.
So I have a question about that because I've been debating it in my mind a lot, like on whether or not you just ride this back and forth thing until the wheels fall off, until like if one starts to do significantly worse, I understand that level. But right now they're both been competitive, right? And often the defense, for some reason, seems to bail Logan out a little bit more. And I can't.
Where have we heard that before?
Right? Yeah, it was interesting
I
because
wonder.
it was reversed last year a little bit. And so that's kind of interesting. But I just I love the idea of them getting both equal time, but I understand what you're saying because they're going to need to learn how to do back-to-backs and closer situations once the playoffs come around. So you don't want them to have their first time that they're starting 2 games in a row to be the playoffs, which I get. But man, the opportunity to have them both be fresh down the stretch, and
Well,
have,
that's the idea. They knew they had top caliber goalies for dollar store pricing, almost literally, and they're taking advantage of it. I have zero problem with the alternating starts. Some might, but at this point in the season, I don't see it hurting them. And as long as they're both competitive and making the most of their starts, which they are, I don't have a problem with it. I love it.
yeah.
I agree. Sorry.
Oh, go for it.
I hate that like clearing the throat
Oh,
annoyance.
no.
Apologize. But I do think this upcoming week against Toronto and Vegas is going to be huge. I think I agree. I like where it's at right now. I don't want anything to change, but if anything was going to change, maybe that week of travel and going up against those teams, just to see how they do. Right now, I love both of them. I don't have a preference. I like to keep it where it's at. But I do think this upcoming week, maybe something could shift, but if not, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts on this because you make up a great point, and we will talk about it when we talk about the upcoming games. But he, he has intel as his former team. He's already beaten Vegas in Vegas. His opportunity to come back to that. It's tempting to play him, and so I think what you have to do is you give them each one, and if they both win their games, then I think you give it to the guy who used to play for the team. If if that's not the case, then you give it to whoever won their one game. I think for that one is how I would play it. But Gil, what are some of your, or do you think Gil, you just keep going back and forth?
I don't see a problem with the alternating starts, and as long as they keep playing. Charlie Lindgren played great in the loss to Carolina. He was absolutely stunning. That was the Charlie Lindgren we saw a good chunk of last year. The down the stretch Charlie Lindgren that we saw, that Charlie Lindgren showed up, and if he's going to show up in what amounts to a meaningless game, at least now, where the Caps clearly had a disadvantage. They were on the road. They were tired. They were playing a disadvantaged team, a disadvantaged system to them, which forced them to absorb the forecheck of the other team, and which turned into shots. And he was equal to the task. I mean, I guess the simplest way to put it is if they still look good in the loss, why change it?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I just think there is some sense of having a team's number where I don't know if Charlie is as good. I have to go back to Charlie's numbers against Golden Knight last year. I honestly don't remember, so I don't want to speak to that. I just know that you have an opportunity with Thompson, that he knows that team really well, and he's already proven when they played in Washington to have, played pretty well against them. And so, it could be an opportunity to try 2 games in a row. I definitely think you put Charlie in against Toronto, the next one, just keep this every other going because that's the way it's been. And Charlie looked pretty good against the Penguins. He only had 3 goals against on 31 shots attempt. We had to score more than 2 in that game, and they had an empty netter, right? So it wasn't like he's to blame for the loss. But
I would go Tom. I would go Logan, Toronto, Charlie,
but
Colorado, Logan, Vegas.
But the problem
Charlie,
is they're already going every other, right? So
yeah, I don't know. I just think that's. I think it's going to show a lot of, if they had to choose somebody.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean,
I know, but it flips the script, and by definition, that would mean that Logan would play 2 in a row right now, right?
Well, who's to say you can't reflip the script? It's like
a
a half done pancake. You can always turn it over and you just let it cook for a while.
Right. So do you think that? So Gil, what would you do in this situation? Would you continue to play Charlie in the next?
But they're not playing back to back. Sorry. Yeah.
No, right. They're not playing back to backs, and they're I don't see a disadvantage to that. Now, maybe here's the thing, we're still early in the season. We're not desperate for points yet.
Right.
Now, if this were later in the season, say mid-February, something like that, and you look at the standings and they're doing well, but New Jersey's still winning, Rangers are still winning, some other team behind them starts to get hot, then you have to think, okay, how do I maximize this scenario that I have? That's when you have to start thinking of that. But we're not even at the quarter pole yet. So let these two ride it out and see, give them a chance to show what they can do still.
All right. So Lindgren played St. Louis this last game. Do you put him in against Toronto, or because you have 3 days off, it's an opportunity to flip him? And you do Logan for this one, so that way he can play against Vegas, and then
and not just because it sticks with the back and forth, but I kind of have a hunch of about Logan versus Toronto, all the high flying offensive talent they have. Not that Charlie's bad against them. I don't know. I kind of have a call it a gut feeling about Logan starting against Toronto that he'll have just enough of that success that they'll need against them.
I also just think you reward him for 8-1 victory, right? I mean, how he gets to the next home game. I feel like you should get something of a reward for that. I don't know. That
Absolutely.
was a great
I don't
game.
know. I'm gonna say my gut feeling. Put Logan in Toronto, Vegas.
Yeah, I think you guys are onto something. We'll see if they do it. I
don't have a problem with Charlie getting the next 2 starts when they go on the road.
Not at all.
They can just as easily do that.
But when you look at Toronto at a 9-5-2, it would be good. Like, I want to see, I know Charlie can do it. I know they both can do it, but I really, for some reason, my gut says put Logan in Toronto, Vegas. Unless, let's see. They're not, they're not fighting for it, because I think that the team has started as that every other, and that's what I love. I do. Yeah. There's a respect for both of them, and there's not like, he's in the, between the pipes. It's mutual respect, mutual love. I don't know. I think I'm going to pull for Logan and Toronto, Vegas.
We're not at any critical point yet.
No.
So.
And who knows? This head cold could be like, bullshit. What are you thinking?
Yeah. All right, let's go through this game super fast. I really don't want to talk about it, but I have to still talk about all three games.
Yeah.
So, the short of it is, Eric Carlson, or as I call the evil Carlson,
Yeah.
scores at 3:11 into the first period. A nice assist by Malkin and Crosby, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth that it happens so quickly. And then Michael Bunting, 7 minutes into this first period, 6:59, gets his second goal of the season, assist by that evil Carlson guy. 2-0, already behind, and we needed this goal by Sandin. It really gave us some life going into the second period. So just about a minute and 22 seconds later, after I was feeling pretty deflated, this happened, and so I'll let Gil take it from there.
So yeah, great response as always. Love that about this team. So in this play, McMichael picks it up, gains the zone. He's got Dubois at center. Rasmus Sandin is the trailer, and he just fires it once the screen is set up. Now I'm trying to see. They gave Wilson an assist here. I'm trying to see where he touches it. He might have thrown it to McMichael before they gained the zone. But I do want to note that Wilson did get an assist on that one, even though the graphic doesn't really show it in the visualizer here. So he did contribute to this play. But great that Sandin got involved and got it in the
back
net.
here. It's 43 pad pushed to the
Okay,
right.
so yeah, he did get the outlet to McMichael, who skated it out. Okay, good.
Yep. So, yeah, a really important goal by Sandin. What are some of your thoughts on this, Anna?
Sorry, I'm here. I was just having a coughing fit.
No.
No, I was glad. I was really glad to see Sandine on the board. I was like, this is exactly what they needed. Again, Connor McMichael. Love hearing his name. And then there's my Tommy doing what he does best. Well, one of the things he does best.
Right. Well, he takes up space, and distractions, and he brings a lot of
Yeah.
people towards him, as you can see at the beginning of the graphic. That leaves
Absolutely.
up space on the other side of the ice, which is really important. It's,
Yeah. And I know Gil's always said, where should he be? And using, his size and stuff as much as like a Protus. So amazing. And again, it was a game we wanted to win. Unfortunately, I had that gut feeling that we were not going to, but that's okay. I mean, it wasn't like a huge, it wasn't a shutout, thankfully.
yeah, I agree. It was, yeah, I'm just happy that we got a goal here, and then we actually the next goal too. And so it gave me hope, which is a dangerous thing against a Pittsburgh-based team. And a common theme that will be in this podcast. But I really like the play here of well, it was a good defensive play to get it out of the zone. And then Vrana did a good job of, skating it to safety. And then I'll let Gil sort of break us through the last part of it.
Yeah, so good defensive play by Lapierre, as you said, to get it going. And then Vrana uses his speed to exit the zone, gain the offensive zone, and Mangiapane, whose speed hasn't been talked about at all, beats his man. So Vrana finds him and gets it into the net for a much-needed tying goal. And up until then, I got to say, I was not very impressed with the third line at all in this game. I thought they did not make the most of their time offensively. So it's great that they showed some jump here. Unfortunately, I don't think we really saw them do much again after this goal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, well, I'll let Anna talk about this goal first. Oh, I think we lost her. But yeah, I mean, I was happy to get this goal, but we can just keep on going with this game. So Malkin unfortunately scored the there Anna is. All right, Anna, do you have any thoughts on this breakaway and really good assists by you like Jacob Verana? So I know it made you happy.
Love it. Love it. I'm sorry. Now, if it's not my cough, it's my dog's barking.
If it
But I
makes you
think
feel
we're
better,
good.
it's noise cancellation. We can't hear the dogs.
That's true. That's true. I keep thinking because I'm like, oh my God, they're like, I'm
Yeah,
like, and
I
what are
didn't
you
hear that at
barking
all.
at? I
Yeah.
kind of don't want to know. I am glad. I am so glad to see Jacob Rana on the board. I do. Number 13, I was glad to see him come back. Um, I like this. I don't know. I really kind of had hope. I think Robbie used the same thing that we both had a little bit of hope after this goal. Hoping that, it could have continued into the third period, but then they score and 4-2 loss and womp womp. Next time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Malkin goal,
Ugh,
to break a tie, his fifth of the season. Russ and Letang get the assists, and then they get an empty netter. But I kind of want to just skip ahead. But Gil, any final
yeah,
thoughts on this one?
Balkan.
exactly.
Uh, yeah,
It's my Tommy.
I know. It was just, and
Fucking
it
hate
sucks.
him.
This team is terrible, and they would go on to like lose. Like I think they're losing to Dallas right now. And I last checked, it was like,
Oh, they're getting their
Like
arses
six
kicked by
nothing or
Dallas.
something.
yeah,
That's I will say, and I said this yesterday in our show, Gil, but it's like I was really kind of hoping that those teams that carry that dark black cloud over us, which seemed to be obviously the Pens and Carolina, I was really kind of hoping we could have gone in and really just kicked ass against them, and then to lose to both 2 out of 4 games sucked because of who they are. Like I can't, there's so many players on both teams I can't stand. But obviously that rivalry with the Pens is oh, it's just always gonna be there. And fucking Malkin. Like this is when I need CP3 here because he would bitch. We could bitch about Orlov and Carolina and frickin' Malkin.
Yep. Yeah, they got to answer my own question from earlier. The Dallas Stars beat them 7-1 in Pittsburgh tonight.
7-1.
7-1.
So
All
yeah,
right.
Turning that
Yeah.
their home rink into PPG Pain Arena.
yes, indeed. All right, let's with that. Since let's get into bigger and brighter things in the next game. We get the first goal in the next game. This one is in. I like that we kind of had a game the next night. It was weird because Pittsburgh was the team on the back-to-back, and we were the rested team. So I thought that we'd
Right.
take advantage of that. We did not. And here's the reverse situation where the Blues are at home with some rest, and we're the back-to-back playing in less than 24 hours. And sure enough, we get a goal 1 minute into the game. So you could tell they wanted to get that bad taste out
I
of
think
their
they were
mouth.
just
Yeah.
pissed and ready to
Yeah.
come out strong.
I love that for
Me too.
sucks for the Blues and their fans. But we had a lot of our fans there, it's cool because Zach from is a Capitals fan from a lot of groups that we're in, and he's been on the show in the past. He had traveled over there to go check it out, and so I was happy about that. And I saw a couple other people that actually had flown all the way out to
I love that.
St. Louis and get a win there. So great game. And yeah, so Gil, break this one down.
Okay, so Chikrin hands it off to McMichael, and he literally, pardon me, does the rest. Uses his speed and his skating skill to get around all the defenders and put a well-placed shot past Bennington for the opening goal.
Yeah, he literally passes 1, 2. Those are 2 defenders now, and then 3. Yeah,
He could have split the defenders if he wanted to, but he saw the shot and he took it.
which I love. But
Good
yeah,
for him because I don't know if I'm wrong about this, but I kind of felt like last year or the year before, he would have overthought it, kind of like not 100% sure if he should take it. And now I feel like we're seeing McMichael just take the shot and do it because you feel you're confident, you got skill, and you're kicking ass. So yeah, let's see it.
Yeah. I love 43 just taking space.
Tommy.
He just I think he's always drawing attention, right? And he's always people are having to kind of backpedal and watch him, and he's trying to sneak behind them, so it's a thing that you won't see on this. You won't get an assist for it, right? But if you watch where he goes into the play, he goes away from it to draw other defenders away, but just gets out of the way of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So pulling people away and letting him work and having that faith in him. And it's just that's what he'll have to do when he's a future captain for the team. So
I was gonna say that's a
yeah,
leadership move right there.
yeah. Gil, what are some of your thoughts on this first?
Couldn't have said it better myself. It is kind of funny. You see the center and the other wing flood that weak side, but I think that all goes to show that they all trust each other. This second line, they're not doing too badly either. McMichael's getting all the goals here, but Dubois and Wilson are putting up numbers in their own right. So we posted the question 2 episodes ago on our podcast: do we have a 1 and 1A forward line? You could kind of sort of make that argument that we do. If the Strome Ovechkin Protus line doesn't produce, you've got this line that can also be a game breaker.
Yeah. I agree. All right, for the sake of time, because there's a lot of goals in this game, I'm going to try to go through them
That's not
somewhat
a
quickly.
terrible thing, but yes.
Right. All right. So, Gil, with that, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, so Strome picks it up at center, Dipsy doodles across the line, and this is a great bit of passing by the. Look at that give and go. Look at that touch pass. Look at that one touch pass by Protus. Gets it back over to Ovechkin from where else? The left circle, bang, in the goal.
Fantastic.
Right. So this is kind of like a give and go with the third person again, which we talked about earlier, which is exactly what you want with the triangle. I guess triangle offense is more of a basketball term, but you're trying to create these triangles. It's something that when we're listening to Craig Laughlin, he's always talking about. And this is a great example of it. So yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, if he were here, he would have called that he might have called it a tap pass, which is pretty much what it was.
All right, Anna, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
No, I love everything about this line, and it was perfection. So I love celebrating number 8's 9th and number 21's 8th and number 17's 16th. It's just all little insert happy Snoopy dance.
Yeah. So I will be honest, I could not watch this live. I was working an event that night, but I did very much like watching the DVR replay of it, and it was just a really great game. And at the time, the game had been tied 1-1, and this was 7:42 in the second, so it broke a tie, which is obviously really important as well. So we're going to skip ahead just about 3 minutes later, and Gil, I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, so Dubois and Wilson set up this play. Just a great shot, wrister by Jacob Chychrun. Look at all that space that he's got. We were just talking about how the other forwards drawing. Wilson is the net front presence. He's got 2 defenders on him. Chychrun gets rid of it towards the net before he gets picked up, and yeah, I kind of feel sorry for P.O. Joseph. He was -4, so he was more like P.U. Joseph on this one, but they had him turned inside out on this play. Felt bad for the Blues, but yeah, another great goal.
Watch 89. He just lost. He doesn't know if he should go to 43 or to 6 or where he should be. Just sort of skating through the lane, just like.
And that's exactly what you want, right?
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So,
love it.
That's great because And also, the goalie has to cheat to Tommy's side too, because otherwise it's a tap in, right? So you can't just like assume that the defender is going to get it. So a great goal there. Anna, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, you know my feelings. I'm all giddy.
Exactly. All right. In the third period, so it's a 3-1 lead going into the third period. Ovi here on the power play scores his 10th goal of the season, assisted by Strome and Tom Wilson. Yeah, so it was basically it just bounced out to Ovi. Ovi then gets it across to Strome, and then Ovechkin buries it as he does on the power play. You just
Yeah.
kind of feel bad, for them at this point. Gil, any other thoughts on this one?
No, you described it perfectly. Great pass from Strome, and yeah, Ovechkin again from his office on the power play.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just sort of sneaks in there, um, and it's just funny because he didn't move from the first rebound. At some point, you feel like, how do they not creep towards him? Like, I don't understand this. Like, how people still leave him on Ovi Island? How 89? You know, there's so many people there. There's like 4 defenders, and none of them are on him. I'm like, it's pretty amazing to me. Like give somebody else just up, like over like leading him free. But anyway, for the sake of that, we're gonna keep on going.
Yep.
Rasmus Sandin gets a goal, his second of the season. Scarbosa, and yeah, so
Mangiapane.
this one, Marjapani, um, just really great play down low. And there's just nothing that they can really do about it at this point. So Gil, any thoughts on this one?
No, no, just again, great seeing Sandin get an opportunity to jump up on the play. Look, he's actually the trailer on this one, and Scarbosa uses his good skating to set up the play, and yeah, just perfection again.
Yep. All right. Next one is Connor McMichael. Oops. So there it is. On the power play here. And Gil, you can take it from there.
Okay, outlet pass to exit the zone from Carlson over to Strome, and Connor McMichael takes it from all the way from the right circle, dekes out Bennington and puts it around and over him into the net for the wrister for his double-digit 10th, also on the power play. So I guess there's no more power play problem, at least in this game anyway.
Right. The solution is to always play
Knock
the
on wood.
right. So, but Dylan Strome just continues his, that was his hat trick of assists at that point. And 18th assist of the season already. John Carlson's 8th. Anna, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, but loving it and loving Dylan Strom. And I think, what did I say today? That he has been, of all of Ovi's 10 goals, he's assisted all of them.
Everyone.
Yeah.
And he's on pace for, what was it? I thought I saw something, 127 points.
Yeah.
Love it.
That'd be nice.
That'd be nice. Yeah. Can you imagine if we had another 100-point score? He is very much in the same mold of Nicholas Backstrom. So if another Capital
Yeah.
could do it, right? I believe Nick Backstrom is the last one who
Yeah, that's
who did
who
it.
the comparison was with. So I was
Right,
like, that's
right.
like sick honors
As a
right
setup
there.
guy.
And hardly anybody, even Caps fans, saw it coming with the explosion with Strome. And
But that's what they were hoping for when they got him. That's what we were talking
and
about. They were saying,
all it took was a coach that knows how to put a lineup together and put the pieces all together and make them the most effective and come up with a strategy that benefits all 5 skaters.
Yeah.
And give him some time and grace too. He had a year to learn the player. And so that way in year 2, they're all can improve together, right?
Exactly.
Versus like can't knee jerk it, can't, like gotta give them time, gotta let them set up their system and play in it and get chemistry from the players, standpoint, but as well as the coaching, right? And so it's night and day. They all look faster, they all look like it's just so crazy. I have not ever had a time with the Capitals and the Commanders both where like had a resurgence and a rebuild at the same time where it was working. So I'm kind of surprised, about it all. But like, both teams are ahead of schedule,
Yeah.
and it's all in my mind because of good coaching. That's the common, the right players. Obviously, a good GM putting people into places is important, but obviously the coach to pull, the right strings at the right time make all the difference in the world, and we're seeing it here. And so
Well, and
I'm
I think
excited to see what.
I think Spencer's taken like the chance to get to know the players, um, you know, uh, who they are as players, but also who they are outside of hockey. And for some reason, he gets it. And I appreciate that. And I think that he's taking into consideration like the resting between games and practice and this. And I think that and then he's going to zone in on something, and it's just a positive all around. So like when these lines click, it's hats off to him.
All right, for time, because I already see that it's just went over 10 o'clock. So we're gonna, just because I want to get Anna to bed, and our next guest on. We're gonna talk about these next two ones very quickly. Scarbosa here, Gil gets another goal.
It actually be his first goal, Garbosa. Yeah. He starts to play and gives a do and go for Mangiapane. Hey, he's a Buccaneer. He's getting through that net. He gets the gold. He always gets the gold. STUV.
I'm gonna say goodnight.
That's the line. Yes, is his first goal. I meant like another goal in the game. Well, not his. It was just at this point it's the 7.
Another point for him.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying in general, just like I felt bad for the goalie at this point when it got to 7. I was like, oof, it's just piling it on. I'm just surprised that they didn't pull him. I'm like, what are they doing? I feel like that's almost disrespectful, Gil. What are your thoughts on that? Like after 5-6 goals, why is he still in the game?
I mean, Jordan Binnington is a pretty tough, pretty solid competitor. I don't think he would have wanted to come out. In fact, I seem to remember a video where they wanted to pull him, and he was like, you're not pulling me. So I don't think he handled it badly at all. He's known to have a hot temper, but you didn't see him go off, so I think he was fine with it. I'm not worried about him.
Yeah. Well, this goal and then the next one was just and
the last one was wow.
Yeah.
Look at this. So Joseph turns it over, and basically Carlson basically plays keep away with Foxa here. So if we can spin it back from the beginning. Okay, so yeah, there he goes. You can't have it. You can't have it. Even though I lost it, you still can't have it. Flips it over to Duhaime, which I'm not sure that Duhaime really got this one. The replay wasn't all that conclusive to me, but
here's what I think happened is it actually went off the defender's boot, but then it tipped right to Duhaime's stick after the boot. So it pinballed across them, and so he gets the goal because he got a brush by. It's kind of like a pinball machine, it bounces both of them and goes in, and so he gets awarded the goal. But that's how I kind of saw it. But yeah, it is complicated. There's a lot of stuff in front of the net, and good for John Carlson knowing that there's just a lot of junk in front of the net. Throw it up there. Who knows what's going to happen? And
well, it might have hit him in the junk for all we know.
Right, exactly. So, and any final thoughts before we let you go?
Nope, I think Gil summed it up right then. We're good. Hitting it in the junk.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you do feel better soon. I'm going to stop the screen share there, but we were able to dominate that game. And
absolutely. Well, and I do like I've got high hopes for. I hate when they're like the later games, but I'm looking forward to this upcoming the next 4 games or so. But my family's going to Orlando on Wednesday, and they don't get back until Sunday, which is why Gil and I were going to take I was going to take that night off, and then Sunday just so I could kind of hang with my family. But yeah, but I'll check in and see how you guys are doing. I'm assuming C4 is going to fill in, or somebody, or Janaea, or
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get one of them on for sure.
perfect.
But don't worry. We can always figure it out, and I'm not too worried about it. But worst comes to worst, Gil and I do a show together, you know.
That would be perfect. And then then Gil will have somebody laughing at his jokes, and it'll just be like the perfect balance, be everything he ever wanted. Right,
Yeah,
Gil?
yeah, for
All
sure.
right. Well, have a great night. Thanks for having me on, and I'll talk to you guys all soon.
Sounds good.
All
Peace.
right,
All right. Take
night. Get some
care.
rest.
All
Thanks.
right. Yeah, feel better. And Gil, any final thoughts before we let you go
Oh, we
tonight?
already talked about it a little bit, but got another home game against the Leafs coming up on Wednesday. They got they're top heavy with offensive talent. Another test for them. Then they go on a road trip. Some top teams there to face Colorado and Vegas. We talked about that. So it's going to be interesting. I think this is going to be their best sustained test so far. So it's going to be interesting to see what the coaching staff comes up with and how they react. And then it's going to be a back-to-back. The road trip actually ends with a back-to-back in Utah, of all places, that Monday, and then they come back home. So again, going to be very, very interesting to watch and see what they come up with.
Yeah, I am interested as well. It's gonna be an interesting week, and I don't know. I don't know what to expect with this team. I do hope that we win 2 out of 3, obviously. Which ones I think we will win, I don't know. I think playing in Colorado and Vegas is tough, so you really kind of need to get this Toronto game here, just to be on the safe side. But yeah, hopefully we'll split the Colorado Vegas ones, and or somehow find a way to get both of them. Next Monday, I will mention we're gonna do a watch along, Gil. It's gonna be a 9 o'clock game, Utah, first time in Utah. So
Oh yeah.
that'll be a fun one to. We haven't done a watch along in a while, and so we'll be talking about the first period and recapping those 3 games simultaneously. So maybe it will just be the two of us, because that's probably a lot to to cover. But I will ask C4 if she wants to join us as well. She might want to watch it in her, not with us. So I will, and I totally understand that if she does. So either way, we'll talk hockey and those 3 games and the live game next week. And thank you so much, Gil, for joining us.
Okay, no problem. Just 2 quick messages before I go. I know we got Commanders talk coming on here, and even though they lost, I think lots of good to come out of that game. No need to be sad, guys. I think they played very well. But real quick, we're always looking for listeners to come on the show with us. Next week's another great opportunity. Contact myself or Anna or C4, who's a sometime host with us, if you're interested in coming on, having your say. And I just want to point out real quick, this poppy I'm wearing for Veterans Day is given out by one of our English teachers at our school to display, show some remembrance for our veterans. So can't say enough about our vets. So just wanted to make mention of that as well.
I'll jump on that because I do want to mention that I'm thankful for both my grandfathers that served, one in the Army and one in the Navy. And yeah, it's a interesting tradition with the poppy. I was talking to some Canadians, and that poppy is a big part of their sort of celebration of, some people call it Remembrance Day, some people call it Armistice Day, and so it's different around the world, but it was originally done to dedicate towards World War I after that, so all the Allied nations, and but the United States has kind of then taken it and made it for all people that are veterans. So I do want to thank all the people that served our country. I do appreciate all of the luxuries that you afford us to be able to have these conversations and enjoy hockey and not have to worry about, some of the more difficult parts of the world, and they're protecting us from that. So it's always a good opportunity to thank them. So I appreciate you for including that in your thoughts, and I may have some future thoughts of it at the end of the show. But Gil, thank you. And also, I know you did a great talk about that on your show this week. So everyone should go check out the PowerPoint Podcast. You can go to sportsothp.com sportsothp.com, click the podcast partners button, and you can get it there. I'll also do the link in chat as well. And the note, it's always in the notes, and also on sportsothp.com, you can always get all the previous week's shows. I actually upload it the next week, so it's an archive. So if you ever want the live and the latest, obviously go to our YouTube channel, our Twitch, our we're also on Kick and some other stuff as well. But if you want to go back to archives, older shows, more than a week old, you can always go to sportsothp.com, and it's got that. And in every show notes, you have all the links to our YouTubes, to our the Facebook group that Gil has, and to the podcast itself. So lots of additional stuff is put there. I know that it's a week late, but the links are always evergreen. So definitely go and check some of those out. Some people don't realize that we have a website that's up to date every week, and so I hope that it's a good resource for people who want to know more, and check out Janaea's shows and other guests that we've had in previous shows like last week. So, Gil, thank you again, and we will talk to you next week.
Pleasure. See you next week.
All right, and with that, we're going to bring in DC's People's Champ and the Sith Lord Dan as well, and we're going to do some NFL talk, yeah. With that, and there they are. And so, Sith, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good. I mentioned this in the chat with me and Champ last night over on No Spots. We had our first rain in over a month down here.
Yes, us too.
Champ was doing the New Japan update. I'm hearing this tinkering outside. I'm like, holy God, we're getting rain. This is amazing.
Yeah. You know what's funny is we needed it so bad, but I was praying that it would hold off.
Yeah.
It was supposed to happen during the game, and literally it would sprinkled a couple times in the fourth for like 1 minute here and there. So I pulled out my poncho. I was like all ready for it to downpour. Never happened. Threw my disposable one in the bin. Never even used it. And the second I got off the metro into my car, downpour. So I'm like, there it is. And, so I'm sad that we lost by a point, but I'm so thankful that we didn't lose by a point sitting in a rainstorm the whole time, because there was a chance that it could have been that. And I do wonder in a rainier game whether that would have helped us or hurt us. But either way, I can't say it would have made that much of a difference. But maybe that long throw to catch off the fingertips, it slips away, right? It could have made somewhat of a difference. But I do want to speak at the very beginning about the experience of going to the game, because that's something that I haven't been able to talk about yet, because I haven't been since 2018. And the game day experience was really, really awesome. And I'm seeing right here if I can actually pull up some images. While I do that, we're going to bring in Champ as well. Champ, how are you doing?
Today's a rough day. Today is the first Veterans Day that my father's not alive for. So not a very good day, to be honest with you, but I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But I appreciate you being with us, and I thank him for service as well. And I'll let all of us have a statement time to talk about that after the football talk. I do think that service is really important, and it's very intertwined with the Commanders. I do want to say, let me see if I can screen share, because I actually have a mention of this. It's a related topic. Sorry, I'm switching screens around and have a lot of different stuff up. And so this one, which is here. All right. So does that show up for you guys? Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. So, we were talking about the pregame stuff, but some of the pregame ritual included this. And over here, you had all of the most important. I don't know, is my cursor showing up? I don't even know. But you've got all the highest members of all the armed forces there for this game. And you got the Air Force singing, and you had helicopters coming over it. So they really, because this was the salute to service game, because it's the closest one to Veterans Day, and they did a beautiful job with it. They gave tributes to different service members throughout. The game. They even awarded one a trip to Disney World, which I thought was cool. And so I thought that they did a really good job with that. And I just think that the game day experience was really great. You got the big flag, out there, for the national anthem, and the pageantry, the cheerleaders, the dancers, everything, the energy in the crowd. 15 minutes before, they have got videos pumping us all up, getting excited. And I have to say, this was a great atmosphere. I would say 55% Pittsburgh fans, 45% Commanders fans, which sounds terrible, but is also the best I've seen at this stadium since they've moved to this stadium. Because Pittsburgh has always showed up here, and usually in even higher numbers, right? So it was pretty even, and from what I saw, was very respectful between both the fan bases. We were, jawing at each other, passionate as you need to be, but it wasn't anything too rude or anything too bad. So these shots are all shot by CP3, so he can't be here tonight, but I did thought I would take some of his photography and show some of it. And he got some great shots. It was such a close game that I had plans to shoot a lot of video, but I was just so into it that I just sort of at the edge of my couch seat um the whole game. I just thought it was a really well played game both ways. Unfortunately, I think officiating reared its head too much. And I want to get some of your guys' thoughts on the officiating. Sith, I saw at one point somebody get choke slammed on the side.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get a penalty for it, doesn't get ejected from the game, nothing. And later he makes some pretty big plays for them. And it wasn't talked about it. It was right in front of the officials. I don't know what they showed on air, but the official was right in front of it, did nothing. And, whenever we brought it up to other people in the stadium, all the Commanders fans saw it, and all of the Pittsburgh fans like, I don't know what you're talking about. Right? So I just didn't know if I felt crazy if I saw it because it was across the field, but I saw that. Did you guys see that on air? Did they show that?
I
That a guy
saw
just
it.
getting picked up and threw down.
I didn't see it. I didn't see
I
it.
saw it. And all I thought
Yeah.
was, what the fuck is this? Are these refs doing? Allowing this in a game? If we were to do that to say, a member of, say, the Kansas City Chiefs, we'd get ejected immediately.
And I get he's upset. He just missed the ball. They got intercepted, stuff like that. And then it's going the other way. There's a lot of commotion. But the official was right there. I just think I'm like, and what sort of message? And I felt like that was a theme. They kind of dog walked them all the way to the end zone at the beginning of the game with some calls that were questionable. And even later on, there were some calls that could have gone either way. And I just felt like the officials just kept on getting them in there. They kept on throwing flags. And then when it was a positive play for the Pittsburgh, they would pick them up. It's almost like they had a flag on standby waiting. Oh, they got it. Oh, we picked it up. It wasn't a penalty, right? And meanwhile, they're holding us the whole time, and nothing is called on that. They are every once in a while. There's something that's so egregious that they finally call it on them. But like, how at the end of the game, I think he gets the sticks, and they say that he doesn't. And where they placed the ball comparatively to where I think he was, based on what I saw, I think that they placed it a yard or two away. And yes, he reaches over, but that would have been like he's a yard over what he needed, not you reach to where it needed to be. And I don't know. Sith, what did you see in this?
Okay, first and foremost, note to the officials, I, as a Commanders fan, I've been a fan my entire life. I have gotten used to us having to go not only against opposing teams, but also against the refs every single week. I've gotten to a point where it's like, all right, you put on whatever the game's on, and you say, all right, how's this going to freaking self-destruct and keeping my language clean, right? or trying to at least. How are the refs going to, hose us one way or another? It's gotten to a point where when we get a flag, I want to celebrate because it's a miracle when we get a flag our way.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the first two penalties because those were legit penalties for pass interference, roughing the passer. I get that. But some referees, when they go to Washington, they say, it seems like some of them are like how college basketball referees used to treat Bobby Knight. They knew he was there, so they would always try to get under his skin to get him to snap. So they could say, all right, you're out. And it feels like at times the officiating for a Washington game, especially at home, is a way to get under the fans' skin and also under the coaches' skins and the players' skins to see how are they going to react. So
Yeah,
I give credit first and foremost to Jaden Daniels for being extremely based in the media yesterday. He admitted it wasn't his best game. He said there's still work to be done. And he didn't bother to touch the officiating, which was a very smart move on his part. Because if he had done that, he would have gotten fined. But I bet you if Tom Brady did it back in the day, he wouldn't have gotten fined. They'd have gone, oh, Tom, it's okay. We love you. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. All right, I'm gonna get Champ's thoughts. What were some of your thoughts on this game?
I don't want to talk about officiating. I don't care. I didn't pay attention to the officiating. I don't care about the officiating. All I care about is the game itself. That's all I care about. Y'all can talk about the officiating. The rest of the fan base can talk about officiating. I can give a rat's ass about the officiating because the bottom line is the officials aren't the ones in the pads and the jerseys executing the plays. It's the guys in the burgundy and gold and the guys in the black and the yellow that were playing the game. Did the officials have any influence on the game? Maybe. But again, I didn't pay attention to that. All I paid attention to was that, this wasn't Jaden Daniels' best game. He even admitted that, which is why I love this kid so much because he admits when he didn't go out there and have a really good game. Scary Terry still had over 100 yards receiving. So that tells you right there that connection is there. That even when Jaden Daniels is now on his A game, Scary Terry can still go out there and be a dangerous weapon against any secondary in the National Football League. Now, I see a lot of people that are riding St. Juice, but I gotta say, on that game-winning touchdown for Pittsburgh, I think that even if he presses George Pickens at the line, St. Juice is very undersized compared to Pickens. I think Pickens beats him off the line and they still make that play. It may have not been as on time as it was, but I think they played it smart by having St. Juice play off of him. It's just that Pickens just turned on the Jets and just got past him, and Russell just threw him a good ball. I mean, there's nothing else you can say about that. St. Juice tried to play it the best way he could against the guy that's a lot bigger than he is, and they just connected in the best way possible, and there you go. But all in all, overall, I think it was a fair effort by the Commanders against a very tough AFC team coming from one of the toughest divisions in the National Football League in the NFC North, and they only lost by 1 point. Had this been the Commanders from a couple of years ago, we'd have got dog walked out our own fucking stadium. We'd have got absolutely demolished in our own stadium, and we'd have had 80% Steelers fans and 20% Commanders fans, if that. No, you know what? No, I take that back. We'd have had 80% Steelers fans, we'd have had 10% Commanders fans, and we had 10% of other fans, including Cowgirls fans, who want to come and talk about the past, even though their team is complete dog water this year. But I digress. Fair effort. Very sad that we lost, but as it was, I saw a quote online that said, with this type of game, this is a game you learn from, and you just got to forget about it because it's a very short week. You go on the road to one of the most hostile stadiums in the league, in the Link in Philadelphia, to face the Eagles division game. You got to bring your A game to this one. You can't afford to not. You have to bring your A game for this one. Otherwise, you're looking at going from 7-2 to 7-4 just like that, and have to stew on 2 straight losses in a span of 10 days. You don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
learn from this game, but move on quickly.
Yeah, it's actually going to be for the early season division lead, so it's going to have a lot of impact. So let's go through the scoring just super fast. I felt like early on, Russell Wilson did score a touchdown, but they put him in a position with some questionable penalty calls. I liked our response. It was interesting. They won the coin toss and elected to receive, which I thought was really an interesting move. People in the stands were talking to me. Someone was saying, "I hope you're good luck because Carol's girlfriend had been perfect on the season, and I'm now sitting in her seat, so a lot of pressure on me for this one." But I liked that they responded right away. They got a rushing touchdown, 7-7 in the second quarter. They go right down the field again. 14-7, and then I like that we got a field goal, and then we got the ball back, and then we got a touchdown, and so that was great. And we knew we were getting the ball first in the third quarter. I really thought it was important that we were to get a touchdown on the opening drive. I thought that would be really important for giving us momentum. We did score first in the third quarter, put us up 24-14. So it's a 10-point lead. Unfortunately, Najee Harris, they got all the way down to the goal line, and he was able to score. We were able to kick a field goal to go up by a score of 6 points, and then in the fourth quarter, Russell Wilson made an incredible pass to Mike Williams, the left for 32-yard touchdown on his fingertips. And you almost got to just tip your hat to them. They made some really great plays on that drive. But there was a lot of opportunities. We thought they scored too early. We were on the 50-yard line with 2-minute warning, and with an opportunity that all we need is a field goal. And unfortunately, we weren't able to get a first down. There, we had been the best fourth down conversion team, but it was a long fourth down, and we thought that he made it to the sticks, and they said that he was coming back to the ball and he wasn't down until he was past that line. And that sucks because that's a judgment call, and there's not much you could do. I did want to show here. This was the rushing touchdown. We actually got a video of it, which is kind of fun. It was a really good play. It was a pitch, which I thought was a little bit dangerous because he's starting pretty far back. I know it's a little bit bright for some of the people on stream. But you can see here he just cuts straight through and gets through and scores that touchdown right across the line there. So this gives you a chance of, we had a very good vantage point for this, obviously. I was talking about earlier, the unlimited food and drinks was great, and I just really loved the fan experience. And hats off to CP3. Thank you for taking me. It's an early birthday present. I wish we could have gotten a win, but I want to wish him a happy early birthday as well, coming up here. Sith, I'll let you have any final thoughts, and then we're going to bring in Arun as well and get his take on this game as well.
I'm going to leave y'all with something here. This team's getting better week to week. I'm sick of the discourse online of, oh, God, we got to, Jaden Daniels needs to refund some of his pay and all this other bull crap. No, this team's getting better week to week. I mean, we just lost one of the best teams in the league by 1 point. And as Champ said, you've got to shake it off, move on, because you got a short week. We've got Philadelphia in one of the craziest stadiums to go to in Philadelphia Thursday night. I give us a 30% chance of beating Philadelphia. Okay? And it's not because of bias. It's because every loss that we've had so far this season, the next game we come out and we just literally put our feet at the throats of the opposition the entire game. So if you're Philadelphia, you better listen to some of your fans that were freaking out when they saw Jaden Daniels in prime time. And they're saying, oh my God, Washington has a quarterback. Y'all better listen to your fans, because We lost one of the best teams by 1 point. We're not going into Philly with our heads down low. It's called, we went in today probably to rest it, watched film, knowing Jaden Daniels, he was there at 4 or 5 in the morning watching film because that's what he does. But I give us about a 30% chance of winning in Philadelphia and stealing that game. Just because of the fact that every game that we've played after a loss, we've come in and just boom, we've set aside what happened the previous week and we just move forward. And that's what this team has to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm hoping it's a lot like the Capitals this past week. With after losing to another Pittsburgh team, they went and on the road and took it to a team and just were like, "Hey, we don't have a lot of rest, but like let's use that anger and that momentum." And because I'm telling you right now, I think Pittsburgh's defense is much better than Philly's.
Oh,
So,
definitely.
and so if they can take that into consideration, they've already played Pittsburgh and the Ravens and found some success against both of them.
Yeah.
That should give them some confidence coming into this game. But I agree. And Sith, before we let you go, I just wanted you to be able to talk a little bit about stuff coming up on the No Spots podcast, and I'll let Champ obviously talk a little bit more about it as well later. But also anything that you have on in the basement as well.
Okay. On the basement tomorrow, I'm recording the top, this will go out Sunday at 5, the top 30 top culture insane things that happen in pop culture. It's wild. Sunday night, Champ and I are going to be doing a retro rewind, and I'm shaking my head because I finished watching it tonight, Survivor Series 1994, where again we're going to go into the Wayback Machine, and I'm going to tell y'all what I was doing at the time, back in '94. It's an intriguing watch. I can't wait to hear Champ because knowing him and his comedic timing and our comedic timing, oh God, this could be fucking priceless. But yeah, Sundays at 5 p.m. on Spotify is where you get some space. I try to have it out there at 5. So that way people can listen to the basement, then go over to Twitch for me and Champ with No Spots and hang out in No Spots. And I think Champ's got something going on Friday night as well, but I'll leave that up to Champ to talk about.
Cool. Sounds good. All right, Champ. I'll leave that as a teaser, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the other wrestling a little bit later. But Sith, it's always great to see you. And we'll definitely hopefully have you back on in a couple of weeks, maybe after a win. That would be more exciting.
God willing.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone. Be well, be safe, and take care. We'll see you.
Peace out, see.
Peace out, bro.
All right. With that, I'm gonna stop the screen share and bring us back over here. But we'll bring in Arun, and we'll get his thoughts on this game. And then Tim, if you want to come in as well, you can feel free to join us. And
What is that background, Arun? What the hell is that?
he's in the office.
Yeah, I'm in the office.
Yeah, he's in
my
Scranton.
God.
He's on the way to the Eagles game. Stopped in Scranton.
I like how it's very business centric. Tim's got a different business background. We got we got the.
We have to close some deals here. It's a busy time.
Yeah,
get the paper.
Dunder Mifflin. Well, welcome into both of you guys. I'll start off with Arun and get his thoughts on this game, and then we'll switch gears because I'm sure Tim doesn't want to hear much about Pittsburgh winning. So all right. So Arun, what were some of your thoughts on this game?
A couple of bad calls, a couple drop passes, and I think Daniels even was surprised by the pressure at times, and like that spot at the end was a killer that kind of decided the game. And I guess the Steelers do get a lot of calls, so it's not that surprising. So it is what it is, and on to the next game. And I guess Brian Robinson also being out and Lattimore, maybe that also hurt, but I don't think the Steelers are that particularly that good. Like the Ravens were like a better team when they beat the Commanders, but it just felt like Washington let them off the hook with that big Mike Williams pass play and like down the stretch. And but they're still 7-3 at the end of the day. So they play the Eagles, and we'll see what happens at the Cade.
I wonder if it threw them off that there was so many Steelers fans, because so far this season, it hadn't been like that, and and I did hear there were a fair amount of fans for the Bears, and even for the Giants game as well, but nothing like this. I mean, their fans, they show up and they're very loud, and it definitely felt louder for Steelers fans being there than the Commander fans. Although I give credit to the Commanders, fans, we got loud at times. It got loud both ways. And it was a really exciting, I don't know if it came across on TV, but being there in person, I would say it felt almost like a playoff game. It had that sort of energy in it. And so that was, fun to see for the first time in a long time. I never saw it like that as a season ticket holder, and I was a season ticket holder for a bunch of years. And the only time I ever saw it was when we were in the playoffs. And or that RG3 year, there was a little bit of buzz, but it still didn't feel like this. And yeah, I agree. A bunch of missed plays. I mean, a bunch of stuff that I thought Jane Daniels was just a little off, right? And he's going to come back to the mean. There's not going to be these incredible, percent, every single game. All the greats, have off games. And so I don't want him to get too down on himself. And I just hope that they're able to correct it, because there was a couple of plays there that if the wide receivers had just made a play, I thought everyone but Scary Terry had a big drop at some point. Scary Terry was pretty consistent throughout, but you know, Ertz is really our blanket, our sort of like this guy that we're supposed to trust in these tough situations, getting these big yards. And there was a couple of throws that weren't perfect throws, but they were within a spot that I felt like he should have grabbed. And he missed a bunch in my mind, of big ones. And and I get him coming back to the sticks, and you have to come back to the ball and all that sort of stuff, but it's just, man, if you find a way to lean back, it's a different game, and it's tough. But Arun, what are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Ertz, I agree. Like, he's definitely like older because I think he's like the second oldest tight end, like starting tight end, and he's definitely outperformed my expectations going into the season. But like, he had a big drop on another play, and yeah, like, if it's going to be a 50-50 call, the Steelers are going to get the spot call. I think, like, I didn't think they're going to overturn that spot, and you have to leave it without a doubt to get the yards. So like, him going back and not building momentum to go forward, maybe he doesn't have it at this stage of his career, but that's ultimately what cost them the game. And along with the defense, like, they were shutting down the run for most of the game, but even when Harris, I think, went out, then Warren got it going, and that's why they give that big pass plays, because they couldn't really stop the run.
Yeah, and then not jumping off sides. I know we haven't really talked about it, but obviously, they baited us, and we took the bait, and that was the
That
moment.
shows the veteran instinct of Russell Wilson to be able to do that, and showing how that unit is still quite young to not recognize a situation. That's all that was.
Yeah, I know, but it's a simple little mistake, but those coupled with a couple of missed passes is a difference in a 1 point game. And it's unfortunate that it comes down to that. It shouldn't have, but it did, and that was the moment that CP3 and I walked out, because we knew that there wasn't a chance really for us to, once you got the first down there. But it sucks, because I really thought we had a chance against these guys. I thought CP3 was starting to talk his shit a little too early to some of the Steelers fans, but I'm not going to be one to be like, yeah. But I was getting a little nervous. I was like, I don't know. This game is not. Even when you're up 10, I wasn't so sure, So
He's still living off that Alex Smith big win against the undefeated Steelers. So
yeah, that's true. Or just the crazy, Hail Mary just a few weeks earlier. But it definitely feels like a different culture, and I definitely think we'll right the ship. The man, this Eagles team is a dangerous team to play, though. I do think we could go up there and steal one, but it's a tough place to play, and they just destroyed the Cowboys in this last game, and I'm hoping that gives them like maybe too much confidence, and they overlook us a little bit, but I don't know. Tim, as an outsider, what are your thoughts on this game and going forward into that Eagles game?
Yeah, I don't remember a game where I've rooted for Washington as hard as I did Sunday, so I definitely feel for you guys. I feel on that spot, he had the first down, but it was totally just not going to be overturned either way. I think if they had called it a first down by an inch, they wouldn't have overturned that either. So that's
Yeah.
a tough call, but really the Steelers won the game on the previous play before the offside because Washington had held them to like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and then Pittsburgh had a really key run that got it to 4th and 1. So, I mean, without that, maybe they don't even try to do the jump offside play. But it's a tough loss, but clearly, yeah, I mean, Washington's headed in the right direction. So, in years past, this would have been a blowout. But I agree, it was a lot of terrible towels. So I hope in the future, Washington doesn't sell those tickets because it was you could see obviously with the towels, it was like at least half Pittsburgh fans, but I don't think that'll change in future years. If they keep winning, it'll turn.
Yeah, I was looking for my towel for a prop because I was going to bring it out. We did get burgundy ones. They gave it out at the gates, but people didn't see them, and they were just kind of rushing in. And so people were saying
Yeah.
put them on all the seats. But the problem is there's so many Steeler fans that are just going to like discard them, right? So like, and I don't know if they even printed enough of them, nor did they ever promote times where it's like show your burgundy towels or something. Like they should have done that on the jumbotron to like clue people in. Like they never once
Yeah.
they just kind of just gave it to us and were like, hey, just counter the gold ones. Like I don't know. It felt like it was a good idea, but they didn't see it
Or
through.
yeah, poor execution. They
Yeah.
gotta
So
pull that off better.
yeah, they could have maybe pulled that off better. But I just I don't know. I feel like Pittsburgh's a veteran team, a good coach, and yeah, they just found a way to do it, and it's just unfortunate because there was real opportunity there, and I think, but it's important to have bad games too and see how you rebound. I think. What is your thoughts about going into Philadelphia? Do you have any thoughts on that part of it, Tim?
I agree with the group that Washington's probably the underdog, but I think they can definitely win. I mean, the Eagles were a little shaky earlier. I think a lot of it was they weren't healthy yet, but I would rather go in on a short week, especially like you said. I mean, their biggest rival is Dallas, and they just went in there and embarrassed them. So I like playing them now when they're riding a high. It's very easy to treat this as a trap game for them because they're probably going to be kind of tired and like you said, Washington's should be pissed. I mean, they had that game, they lost it more than Pittsburgh won it, I would say. So, if they watch film, they get angry, they could definitely steal one. But Philly, their offense is scary at this point. So, huge game. I mean, it could decide the division. So, I think
Yeah.
it'll be a hard fought game, probably close.
Arun, I'm gonna get your thoughts, and then I'm gonna get Champ's thoughts on this one, and then we're gonna move on. I do want to talk about the Ravens game with Tim because that was a very exciting finish. But Arun, your thoughts on this Eagles game, and any final thoughts you have on the game from this week?
Yeah, the Eagles, they struggle against teams over 500. I think they lost to the Bucks. Then the Falcons game was close. The Eagles should have won, but they blew it against Kirk Cousins. So I think anything is possible. Like especially if I think Robinson practiced today. He was limited. It looks like they're not going to have Lattimore because he didn't practice, but um, it's a winnable game. But even if Washington loses, I think going for a split, like since it's at Philadelphia, they'll probably be tough to stop the run with Saquon Barkley, but it certainly is a winnable game, especially if Washington plays better. Like, because I think maybe they were complacent a bit and they kind of didn't have their pass game going. Like Daniels was throwing receivers either behind or ahead and a couple of drop passes. So if they play a game on point, they could win the game. I think it could be close if they can kind of slow down Saquon Barkley, but I think the Eagles should be favored to win.
Yeah, it's interesting. Right now the line is Philly by 3.5. And yeah, it's interesting. I actually kind of like the fact that we played home and we had an earlier game versus they played a much later game and in Dallas, so they have to like get back, later, and they're on that high, and I think that they'll probably, they might take the today off where we're starting to look at film already, right? So it'll be interesting to see how the teams approach, coming into this game. But you're right, they only did lose that game barely to Atlanta, and they lost pretty bad to Tampa Bay. So that is a comparable game, though, in the sense, and they've beaten, the Giants, which
They
we
beat a lot
also
of teams under 500, and then the Packers game they won, but they were trailing in the first half of that game. So, and Jordan Love got injured in that game too. So it's kind of like Washington, if they play up to their capabilities, maybe they can force Sirianni to kind of mess up. And I also, this is just a random note. My friend went to the Cowboys-Eagles game in Dallas, and he's rooting for Dallas. I don't know if I should be friends with him for the next couple of days.
No, you shouldn't. You don't need that type of negativity in your life.
But I mean, I was rooting for Dallas in this game because I was hoping for Philly to not.
No. But he was like,
okay, I quit Sports on the Hill podcast forever.
But I mean, you have to. You have to play the games. You don't want. I mean, Dallas is out. Philly
no,
is.
but I think he thought. I think he thought Dallas was good, which makes it even worse. He doesn't even really follow.
No, I'm not rooting for them in the positive. I'm just. We needed Philly to lose, so that way.
Yeah. I wanted Philly to lose. Yeah. I did want Philly to lose.
Yeah.
I was rooting for them to tie. I was rooting for them to tie at 0-0. That was me.
Right. I mean, that's fair. All right, Ken, final thoughts on this week and thoughts of the Eagles, and then we'll get into some of the other NFL action.
I don't pay attention to these little gambling lines, especially when they say, "Oh, Eagles are 3.5." Little known fact: if you're not a gambler, even I'm not a gambler, and I know this. Home teams automatically get 3 points as a favorite, automatic. So I don't pay attention to that. Now, if they said that we were a favorite going into Philly, then I would be looking at that and be like, But I don't pay attention to that. What I pay attention to is what we get on the field. And what we're going to get on the field are two young, mobile, African-American quarterbacks that can electrify offenses. And also you have dynamic offenses as well. Philly has some very unique weapons when it comes to Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and whatnot. And, of course, Saquon Barkley is just an absolute phenomenon. The New York Giants are continuing to kick themselves in the ass for letting him test the free agent market and end up in still in their division. So now they have to deal with him for the next couple of years, twice a year, and he's going to burn them every single time he gets the chance to. But that's neither here nor there. But they have a lot of weapons on offense, and their defense can be quite stout. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Joe Witt schemes against this offense and see how Cliff Kingsbury draws up a good plan and a good set of plays to be able to deal with this defense. Sith said he gives Washington a 30% chance of winning. I'm about around that number as well because again, Philly, even though they've had their moments where it looks like they're beatable, they've looked quite unbeatable most recently, and it's very, very concerning. But at the same time, Washington's coming in on a short week pissed off because they could have won that game against Pittsburgh at home, and they didn't. So they're coming in pissed off. It's a division game. These are the games you can't afford to lose. They're going to treat this as a must-win game because pretty much it is, because it's for the division lead, pretty much for the most part. So Washington come out hungry. They're going to come out fired up. Will they win it? I really hope so, but we'll have to see what happens. But Thursday night, short week. You probably, who knows if you're going to have B-Rob back. He missed this game because of that hamstring injury. you just traded from Lattimore, but he didn't practice and didn't get the chance to debut yet. As Arun mentioned earlier, there's no telling if he's going to even debut this week because it's a short week. So I don't know how much time you're going to have to practice to see if he's ready to go. We'll have to see what happens, but Thursday night can't get here fast enough so we can get this thing out of the way.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna share one graphic because you talked about B-Rob, and I wanted to show one thing real fast. Let me see if I can do this correctly. And because I want to show a quote that I thought was interesting. Here it is. All right. There we go. So he talks about being injured is one thing, but to hear the backlash from motherfuckers that sit down on their couch every Sunday blowing me, nobody say shit when the parlays hit though. Y'all have no humility on this app. For real, I wonder why some players don't respect fans. So I thought this
He's not wrong. He's not fucking wrong.
People
Right.
talk so much shit about
fucking
fantasy
wrong.
and gambling now. It's got to suck for the players, man.
Yeah.
All these strangers come up to him and they're like, you lost me $1,000, mofo. And they're just like, who are you?
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting that this has become part of the game, and like the people that pay attention to it and the people that don't, and I feel for them because it's just like I see the cesspool that is the rooms on Facebook, right? And so I can only imagine Twitter or X or whatever you're gonna call it, I if I was them, I'd just stay off of it, right? I would just not engage. But like clearly this is not his prerogative, right? But man, I do feel for them. It's a tough situation. We have a 50-yard field goal attempt, and it is just good. It's good. It takes a 23-12 lead for the Dolphins, the 2-6 Dolphins. So let me switch here. I am going to share the screen for this week's games, and this window here. That should work. All right. So Tim, you barely hung on to this game. There's some questionable calls at the end here that very much go in your favor, which I'm jealous of. Some potential face mask happening on the last play, 2-point conversion, but you're able to squeak by. Crazy call to go for 2 here, but they do. What are your thoughts on this back and forth game, and then how it ended up?
I would say it wasn't the most optimistic win that the Ravens have had. A lot of fans were more angry about the defense and getting absolutely torched by Chase more than the win. But at the end of the day, I mean, you have to win this key divisional game, especially for the Ravens, who dropped a game to Cleveland, which was a big surprise. So I just look at the big picture. They were able to sweep Cincinnati. Cincinnati had 2 double-digit fourth quarter leads. They blew both of them. So I'm happy that they were able to complete that sweep of a good team. I mean, since he's 4-6, but I think everybody can kind of respect their history and clearly have a lot of talent on offense, at least. I still think they have a chance to maybe make a run for a wild card. So hard-fought win. Like you said, the calls definitely went their way. I do think, though, the Bengals do not generally get calls, and Burrow mentioned this in the postgame, because they whine a lot, and I don't think the refs like them. I mean, and also they're just not on Mahomes level. The other thing is, and this call was very similar to Zach Ertz, Washington, 4th down play. On that same drive, a tight end as well caught a 4th down pass and looked to be about a quarter yard short, maybe. They reviewed that play and they gave Cincinnati the 1st down. Again, they just didn't want to overturn it. So that call to me definitely was pro Bengals. And if that doesn't happen, the game's over there. So there's a lot of what ifs. I just think the main thing for the Ravens is, the offense is great. Lamar played amazing, especially second half. Even though they had a rough start, he was able to come back when it mattered. And the defense just needs to do a little bit more to make them a true contender. And I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, the pass defense just stinks right now, but they do have some good players back there. I feel like they could fix some of it with scheme. But just, to allow Chase to do that to you when Higgins was out, that's pretty terrible. I mean, it's going to him every time. And he had over 200 yards, I think, 3 touchdowns or something. So just a lot to clean up on the back end. But like I said, summary is they swept a pretty good team. And those division games, like your game on Thursday, they're so important. They're really worth 2. So, I'm not going to get mad about it, but I can't say that I'm not concerned about the defense. And, the Ravens, they have a high standard for defense, so they need to figure it out, because they can't win a Super Bowl like this, but they could beat the Bengals. So
Jamar Chase had 11 catches out of 17 targets, 264 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at both games, he had 5 touchdowns and probably 450, 500 yards. But again, they lost both of these games, blew 2 touchdown fourth quarter leads. So I'm still just, it's just great for me because I hate the Bengals. I mean, their fans must be so pissed. Their defense is even worse. So I feel like they're letting Burrow down. I mean, that offense is great, but they'll probably miss the playoffs. I mean, they just can't stop anybody.
I am going to say I'm happy for Lamar Jackson having such a good game and Jamar Chase, because it helped me to win in fantasy this week just off the strength of those two. Lamar had 40.90 points and Jamar Chase had 55.40 points. So I already had 96 points before Sunday's games. I was already up big and I won big. So thank you to Lamar and thank you to Jamar Chase.
Yeah, you can't lose with that combo from this week. I mean, the rest of your team could just be on the bench, basically. You'd still win.
Yep. All right. For the sake of time, I'm going to quickly go over some of the NFL highlights from this week. Each one of you guys, I'm going to give you one other game to talk about. So think about it as I'm going through it, and I'll let each one of you guys have a game to break down, other than, I know we already talked about the Ravens one, but you can get a second one, Tim. And so the Giants game against Carolina came down to a field goal. This game was in Germany. They actually showed it on the big screen before our game, which was kind of cool to sit there with the free hot dogs and free food and drinks and watch it on the, because I feel like in a previous ownership they never would have shown another team. So I thought that was kind of cool that they let everyone in the stadium up until an hour before, and then they did all the pregame stuff, and so they stopped it, which I get that, but like it was cool to watch it for a while. So shout out to them for that. And then 49ers beating the Buccaneers was not a surprise. The Vikings did not score as many points as I expected, but they were able to beat the Jags. This is the big surprise. The Bears are just in free fall ever since that Hail Mary. And like everybody in that fan base wants their coach fired, and they were starting chants to fire Eberflus and that's the end of the longest home winning streak in the NFL, which is wild that they had it to begin with, but even more surprising that it goes down to the Patriots 19-3. The Bills 30-20. That was kind of not, that shocking, but obviously you're going into Indianapolis, so it's always, not easy. The Kansas City Chiefs block a field goal to win this game 16-14. They just keep on escaping with victories.
Kansas City is the luckiest unbeaten team in all of football. I don't care what anybody says. They are they must have a bunch of rabbits put up every team member's asses.
Yeah.
For them to still be undefeated at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Just every week I feel like they should fall. Something should have happened, and they don't. I got the Falcons and the Saints. This was another one of the big surprise. The Saints barely won any games, but it's a division rival, and so they show up for it, right? We've already talked this game at nauseum, so I'm going to skip over that. Then we got the Chargers and the Titans. The Chargers are the better team, which is not a surprise. Titans have kind of sucked this year. The Eagles, Cowboys. This was not a surprise. I did expect the Cowboys to put up a touchdown or a little bit more than this, but it is what it is. The Cardinals, being the Jets, the Cardinals now have gotten more wins than their whole season last year with this win. The Jets are in a total free fall with a 31-6 victory. The Lions-Texans game, this game went back and forth. Really exciting game for the Sunday night football game, with the Lions coming away with a victory in the end to go 8-1. But the Texans played a hell of a game in that one. And then tonight, this game is still going on. I need to refresh it because it's actually 23-12 for the Dolphins right now over the Rams. So I'd get this one wrong as well. So I'll let each one of you guys pick a game. I'm going to start with Arun. What game do you want to talk about?
There were a lot of close games, so I'll talk about one that wasn't close, which was the Cardinals versus the Jets, and the just 6 points by Aaron Rodgers. They traded for Devontae Adams, and they fired their head coach, and their defense has been worse since they fired Robert Saleh. So Kyler Murray with the second straight blowout. They're kind of looking like a playoff team, even though their division's tough. The Cardinals have been playing much better since Washington blew them out. So shout out to Kyler Murray for defeating Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go to Champ. You get the next one. Which game do you want to talk about?
The Sunday night game, I got to talk about that one. That game was absolutely crazy. Here's the thing. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. Okay? When your quarterback throws that many interceptions, you're not supposed to win the game. You're supposed to lose. Yet somehow Detroit still walked out of there with a victory. That is how crazy this game was, that Goff went out there and threw 5 interceptions. 3 of them were straight to the defender. A couple of them were off tip drills. Okay? CJ Stroud played okay. He played okay. He doesn't have his leading receiver out there, so he's battling out there. But Houston was supposed to win this game. When you get that many turnovers, you're supposed to win. You're not supposed to lose off a field goal in the last second of the game. That's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to win the game when you get that many turnovers off a quarterback the caliber of a Jared Goff. You're supposed to win that game. Detroit, I think Detroit has a destiny to be a playoff team this year. And right here, this game right here shows the fact that they won in spite of their quarterback throwing 5 picks. They still won the game. I think that destiny is starting to shine on the Detroit Lions. That 0-16 team from a decade plus back is long in the rearview mirror for most Detroit Lions fans with the way this team is playing.
Yeah, it's kind of tell 2 halves. You know, it was 10-0 Texans after the first. It was 23-7 at halftime. And, you know, they were able to mitigate all those things. But they only got 23 points. Seems like a lot, but over 5 turnovers, you should probably be getting more than that. And in the second half, they made them pay. They got a touchdown, although they missed the 2-point conversion, but that made it a 10-point game. But then in the fourth quarter, got a touchdown, and then a field goal, a 58-yard field goal with 5 minutes left, and then a 52-yard field goal with 4 seconds left for the win. And just an incredible resiliency by the Lions to, on the road, be able to, you know, shut out Houston in the second half that way. But all right, Tim, what game do you want to talk about?
I'll talk about the Indy ugly loss. This game, like you said, Buffalo's favored. Buffalo should probably win. The reason why I'm flagging this game is I don't watch a ton of Pat McAfee videos, but he put out a clip today about the Colts just completely quitting on the season. And it really kind of opened my eyes. I mean, I didn't watch a ton of the game, just little bits on Red Zone, but we all heard about the switch to Flacco, and Flacco's been pretty bad since he started. After Richardson, this game he threw a pick six on the first play. Then the second drive he threw another pick. Then later in the first half he threw a third pick. But the captain of the Colts said the players don't work hard, they don't practice hard, and it shows in the game. And that's just a terrible, quote from a player in the middle of the season. And with this sixth loss, I really feel like the Colts are probably done. If you look at their division, the AFC South, it's really weak. And we talked about the Texans had a bad loss. Jaguars are terrible. Titans are terrible. The Colts really had an opportunity this year, and I think everybody's just kind of giving the division to the Texans. And the Texans have really struggled lately, and they should have won last night and they completely choked. So I think it is sad for the Colts, but I don't really understand kind of what their future plan is. I mean, Richardson has been bad this year, but I mean the whole team kind of quit. You can't just, take yourself out of the game as a quarterback, but going to Flacco has not worked either, and now their season's basically over. So they got to figure something out there, but it looks like the coaching is not doing the job. So I would say that's kind of the end of their chances this year, even though that division's bad and they really could have won it, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm looking at the remaining schedule. The Texans have a harder remaining schedule than Indianapolis, so they're still not out of it, only 2 games back. Houston still has to play some tough teams. At Dallas is always, a big rivalry on a Monday night game, like interstate rivalry, because those fans hate each other. I mean, Tennessee and Jacksonville are pretty easy, but you got Kansas City, Baltimore at the end of the season too. So they're not all cakewalks. Though it does look like they have a relatively easy schedule. But Indianapolis Colts, has New England, Tennessee, the Giants, Jacksonville, surprisingly at Denver hasn't been that tough, sometimes of the season. So I don't know, if they wanted to, they could make a run for it. They're not completely out of it. So it'll be interesting to watch, how the end of that season goes for sure. All right, I'm going to take a look at the week 11. I'm going to go quickly through these, make my fast picks, and let each one of you guys talk about one remaining game that you want to talk about for next week. And then I'm going to let Tim get out of here because I know that he's got work tomorrow, and let Arun have his final thoughts, and then we can talk about the Wizards if we want to, but it was a pretty bad loss tonight, so I'm willing to skip it. So we'll see. I'll briefly.
They need another win before we put some time into them. We gave them some props for those 2 wins in a row.
Yeah,
no, they should just keep losing, and we'll give them props when they get Cooper Flag.
All right, fair enough.
Fair.
We'll do a draft show. It's all canceled.
Exactly. All right. Well, I'll go over the scores at the very end of the segment, so at least can say that we referenced them. And I was watching it during, it was kind of close for a time, but then it kind of the wheels fell off in the second half there, especially in the fourth quarter. All right. The first game is the Commanders and the Eagles game, which we've already talked about. Then the Packers and the Bears. The Bears are in a free fall, so I'm going to pick the Packers there. The Lions are much better than the Jaguars. The Vikings look much better than the Titans. Dolphins, Raiders. This is going to be an interesting one. The Dolphins look better today. It's 23-12 right now, minute 30 left in the fourth.
Your shit is behind on my end. The game is over.
Oh, it's over. Never mind. It's the highlight.
Yeah, it's updated to 3-6 now, I think. That's
okay.
So they must have won.
Oh, yeah, they did win. Okay, never mind. Sorry. It's 23-15 is the final there. Sorry, I was watching the highlights, and so I didn't see that one. Anyway, so I'm going to pick the Dolphins at home. The Rams look better than the Patriots. This is an interesting matchup. So, the Saints are such an up and down team. The Saints would be they're coming off of a big win, but the Browns can surprise teams too, and the Saints have had some really bad losses. Yeah, so this one's an interesting one. The Ravens and the Steelers. I want the Ravens to win, but I am going to pick the Steelers to hopefully jinx them. And then we got the Jets and the Colts.
Who would have thought we'd have seen Joe Flacco versus Aaron Rodgers in 2024? Not me.
Right. I'm
With
curious.
those terrible records too.
Yeah.
Super Bowl winning quarterbacks.
Right.
One each, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like the Jets have got to find a way to get a win at home. I don't know. Because unless the Colts really want to make a run for it, or maybe this is their way.
Both those teams have quit like on the season. I feel like something has to give.
Yeah,
Neither
exactly.
of them wants to be there. They'd rather just cancel the game.
Right. Yeah. This is another interesting one for teams that actually are doing better than I expected, at the beginning of the season. So it's kind of like the opposite of this one. The Broncos, Falcons. I'll give them the advantage of being home.
Take that thin mountain air.
Yeah.
Bo Nix is starting to look a lot better though.
Yeah, they had a strong start. The last two games, well, they should have beat Kansas City, like you said. I mean, they got screwed, but they look better.
Yeah, definitely.
Taylor Swift screwed.
Seahawks 49ers. We'll take the 49ers at home. Chiefs and the Bills. You know what? I think this perfect streak has got to end at some point. I don't think they're gonna go perfect through the thing. I'm gonna take the Bills on this one. Maybe they can finally be the team to break it. And then next Monday, or sorry, this is Sunday night game. I'll take the Chargers. And then next Monday Night Football. Oof.
Nobody likes the Cowboys. That's Jerry Jones and his family, 12%.
Yeah. All right. And then we'll just type in.
And my friend.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
so
and Arun's friend.
those are the games. I'll let each one of you guys have one. I'm gonna go with Champ first. Which game do you want to talk about?
I think I am very interested in Rams Patriots because Drake May is starting to slowly but surely improve. Yes, he's a rookie, and Stafford and company are coming off of this tough loss against the Dolphins. They put up a graphic that said that the Dolphins are 13-2 overall against the Rams. So they're coming off a tough loss here. And so now they got to go from the West Coast over to New England to face this team that are starting to emerge just a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit here. And so you got to wonder what's going to happen here. But this is a very intriguing matchup here between Stafford, who's a well-established vet, and Drake May, who's starting to slightly emerge. And if he continues to play the way that he is, he's going to really start to put some eyebrows on him for the most part.
Yep. All right. I'm going to go to Tim next. Which game do you want to talk about?
Shocker. I'll talk about the Ravens Steelers game, which I think is fresh in your mind too, just after Sunday.
Yeah.
Steelers could definitely win. I will say I'm a little surprised the Ravens are favored and 3/4 of the fans have picked them. I mean, I think they are a little bit better than the Steelers, but obviously the Steelers are for real. I'm not one of those fans that think they just absolutely suck, and I won't be a total homer here. But I do think it helps that Lamar has struggled against Pittsburgh in years past. He's actually missed a lot of the games head-to-head, and he's beat them once, but it was 4 years ago maybe now. So I think he's going to be motivated to win another division game and try to take that negative spot off of his resume with the bad record against Pittsburgh head to head. So I think the Ravens will pull out a very close victory. I think it's going to be a very similar game to the Washington game where it'll be fairly high scoring and back and forth. Both teams will have the lead. I just think one difference is just the Ravens will make one play on offense at the end to pull it out, kind of like Russell Wilson did, with that big offside play. So I think it's going to come down to a play that's similar, probably one score win here. But I do like Lamar to kind of gut it out in the fourth quarter, and I'll pick the Ravens by 3 points in this one.
All right, and Arun, your game you want to talk about?
Chiefs Bills, because the Chiefs are undefeated, and if they win this game, then I don't think they have like the Panthers, Raiders, Chargers, Browns, and then they play the Texans. So I think they could go kind of like then they'd only have like 2 or 3 games that they could possibly lose, and maybe they keep the undefeated streak alive a bit longer. But that's and the Bills, I think last regular season game they beat the Chiefs on that weird lateral play by Kelsey, but even if the Bills win this game, it'll be tough, like in the playoffs, no matter what. But I think that game's a toss-up for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I just think the Bills are angry because they keep on getting knocked out by this team. So I think that at home it's going to be that's going to be a great game on CBS, a playoff atmosphere, and CBS got a lot of good games. The 1 o'clock game with the Pittsburgh Baltimore game. I don't even know if we'll get that one. So kind of sometimes if you're in the market for it, but. Anyway, the game for the Eagles and the Commanders, I want to remind people it's on Prime, but it's also, if you're watching this live on Twitch, you can get it on Prime. Video has a Twitch channel that you can watch for free. Some people don't realize that you don't actually have to have Amazon Prime. You'll have to watch some ads, but it is free to watch.
Thanks, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like a lot of people don't know that. And now you have to do it on a computer or on the phone. You can't do it on a TV through Twitch. On a TV, you have to have the Prime Video app, but it's still worth doing. Yeah, and Troy, who's on Facebook, just said we play Thursday night at 8:15. So that's exactly right. So you can find it live on Twitch. And we'll definitely I'm excited about that because I'm away this weekend, so I would have missed the game. So that's good for me, even though I had to put the kids down by 8:15, so I'll probably miss the first quarter. But yeah, anyway, so uh I'll ask Arun and Tim any final thoughts before we let you guys go.
No.
I just go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say good luck on Thursday. I'll root for Washington again very hard. 2 straight weeks. Yeah, that's it.
Yep, sounds good. All right, thank you, Tim. I appreciate it, and hopefully, I know you're gone next week, but hopefully, we'll have you back on in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Have a good one, guys. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. All right, Arun, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Yeah, Russell Wilson has only lost to 3 Washington quarterbacks. One is Taylor Heineke, Kirk Cousins, and of course RG3. So that's it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, RG3 always making an appearance with an Arun Arun stat. So I appreciate
Jada Daniels will have to wait.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, thank you, Arun. As always, I appreciate that you coming back on the show. It's been a couple weeks, and it's always good to see you. And we'll definitely, hopefully, we'll have you back on either next week or one of the upcoming weeks and continue the conversation.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
All right, sounds good. So you can always catch Arun. I'm going to do the Arun command because he also has his own podcast that he does sometimes, but also he sometimes streams on Twitch as well. So you can catch it on twitch.tv/A2TheRon. A2TheRon. That's a play on his name. And twitter.com/AR_Bhattacharya. And then also anchor.fm/HeyArun. I think that still works. Yeah. So you can catch his audio podcast. He's on a hiatus there, but you can always follow it if you want to in case he comes back. And Troy says Thanksgiving is in 2 weeks, by the way. Yes, that is true. And all right. With that, I think we'll switch to well, should we talk about the scores of the NBA real quick, at least to get it in there, or do you think it's not even worth it?
It was a tough loss. I looked at some of the game, and then when the podcast started, I kind of lost. I stopped paying attention to it. Plus, I'm sitting here playing Road to the Show on MLB The Show 24, and so I wasn't really paying much attention to the game. But just look at the score. It was a very tough loss for the Wizards. It seems like they fight. They fight. I will say that this team fights, but it's just they're not generating enough offense. I should say they're not generating a lot of offense. And I think that you can have all the fight in the world, but if you're not generating enough offense to make up for the fact that you're not stopping people from scoring defensively, you're going to have a lot of games where you're going to lose by double digits. And it's going to be another season where you're going to be sitting at home watching the playoffs and wondering what if, and having a top 10 pick again.
Yeah, for sure. Just going through the scoring from last week. So when we last left off, they lost like the Golden State game, but they allowed Memphis to score 128. They allowed Orlando to score 121 and Houston to score 107. And in those same games, we scored 104 in that first game, so we lost by 24. We scored 94 in the next one, so even bigger gap. And then tonight, 92-107 is a closer game. And it was one that was growing. Rockets came out to an early 2-point lead after the first quarter. We're able to expand that by 6 to make it an 8-point lead at halftime. Then they just kept on adding on from there. They outscored 25-20 in the third. And though the Wizards did make a run in the third, but then the Rockets made a run right back. And then in the fourth quarter, they outscored them just by 2, 25-23. But overall ends up being like a 15-point win. And it's the upcoming games. They're playing in San Antonio on Wednesday. It's an 8 o'clock game. And then on Friday at Atlanta, 7:30. The team we've already beaten twice this season. So Atlanta's going to come on strong in that one, especially in Atlanta. So that'll be a 7:30 game on Friday. And then Sunday, we get a home game against Detroit. It's a 6 o'clock game. And then Monday on the show, 7:30 p.m. At New York. And so it's a very short-lived homestand there with that one game. We'll talk about all 4 of those games because the New York Knicks game should be over by the time we get to this segment. But if they have a chance in it and are winning, we will definitely talk about it during the show next week. Also next week, there's a live Caps game on, so we'll be having all the different DC sports in addition to rooting against the Cowboys. So it should be a fun show next week with regards to all 3 sports in action during that podcast. With that, I am going to switch and get out of the NBA graphic and switch to no spots. So I know there's been some interesting stuff coming out of Raw and SmackDown with regards to the bloodline situation. And I thought maybe you can give people an update on how that's shaking out and any other major news stories from the last week from the WWE. And then also let us know what you're talking about the No Spots podcast this past week and upcoming week.
Right. So the Bloodline storyline took a turn this past week on SmackDown with Sami Zayn saying that the kick that he gave to Roman at Crown Jewel was an accident. Roman wasn't trying to hear it, and he came out later on in the show by himself to confront Solo Sikoa and his bloodline. But then Solo challenged Roman to a 5-on-5 Survivor Series War Games match. But Roman pointed out that there was only 4 of them, but then Solo said the 5th was his dog, Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn come walking out, and we're thinking, oh crap, Sami's turning on Roman because Roman rejected him. But then as the beatdown started on Roman, here came the Usos, and then when Sami came in after Solo urged him to come in and kick him in the face, Solo got kicked in the face by Sami, and Sami stood tall with the rest of the original bloodline with the ones in the air and everything like that. So it's already been established, though the match hasn't been made official yet, that it's going to be Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline 2.0, which is Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, Jacob Fatu, and whoever the mystery person is. I'm assuming it's going to be Hikuleo because he's been signed for the longest time and has yet to make his debut. I think he's going to be a formidable force inside of a double ring steel cage match, being that he's nearly 7 feet tall and just as agile as can be for a man his size. against Roman Reigns, the Usos, Sami Zayn, and whoever they can find as their fifth. They kind of, and this is slightly a spoiler, but not too much, they kind of started their recruiting efforts on Raw tonight. I'm not going to say who they tried to ask, but they started their recruiting efforts on Raw tonight. And they have 2 weeks to build for this. So I'm sure they'll find a fifth somewhere between now and before Survivor Series and that War Games matchup. But that's what's going on in the WWE. Also, some other developments happen on Raw, but not to give too much into it. This past week's episode of the No Spots, which I'm going to eventually put up, I actually got very, very frustrated with it because my laptop started having issues, and it just I downloaded the audio and have yet to even attempted to go and put it up yet. It's there, but it'll go up this week most likely. I just don't know when. But this upcoming week though, myself and Sage are going to reunite. We're going to begin our coverage of New Japan's World Tag League round robin tournament, which begins next week, actually next Tuesday, November the 19th. We announced on the podcast the 16 teams that are going to be a part of that tournament. So it's not the traditional 20 teams, 10 per block like they do. It's a little smaller. It's 16 teams, 8 per block, which means each team will only have 7 matches to compete in. You'll see some new combinations, and you'll see some combinations that are familiar with World Tag and familiar with tag team wrestling. Out also with New Japan, they just had their Fighting Spirit Unleashed event in Lowell, Massachusetts this past weekend, which saw new strong openweight tag team champions crown the grizzled young veterans who are former tag champions in WWE as part of NXT UK, are now the new strong openweight tag team champions, defeating TMDK's Shane Hasty and Mikey Nichols. We also saw some other developments, including potential new challengers for the strong openweight championship in the form of the Grip, Ryohei Oiwa of TMDK. We also saw Konosuke Takeshita, the AEW International Champion, retain over his title in a very hard-fought title defense. But then afterwards, he would get a challenge from Shingo Takagi, who is the current Never Openweight champion, for a match for Shingo's championship at Wrestle Kingdom coming up in January, instead of the International Championship at Wrestle Dynasty, which is taking place the very next day in the same venue as Wrestle Kingdom, which is Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan. And that's another thing, is that a great announcement that came out for the announcement of the matches for Wrestle Kingdom is that Wrestle Dynasty, which is a cooperation with not just New Japan, but AEW, CMLL, and Stardom, will not be a pay-per-view event. It will air for subscribers on New Japan World streaming site. So if you are a subscriber, you will get to watch it for free. You don't have to pay extra for it. You get to watch it for free, and I believe it'll be available in both Japanese and English commentary. So that's a big, big W, because I doubt that a lot of Americans would want to pay $40 for a pay-per-view that they have to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to watch live. I think that they would much rather have it on World, where a lot of us will get up at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, like some people, and watch it on demand and whatnot. So I think that's a big, big, bold move, but a great move by New Japan and AEW to make Wrestle Dynasty not a pay-per-view event, but an event on New Japan World streaming site, so that individuals here in the States can watch it on demand. Because of course in the UK, where it's like 10 o'clock, it'll be 10 o'clock in the morning for them, so they can watch it live. But here in the United States, or on this side of the hemisphere, it's a little bit harder for us to watch those type of shows, so they come on so early in the morning. But that's a lot. That's what's going on in wrestling. We bring back the World Tag League Rebound this coming Friday, streaming live on Twitch. We begin our preview of World Tag League, talking about the 16 teams that are in it and looking ahead to the upcoming matchups to start off the tournament. We're also going to talk about World Tag League, which just finished with TMDK's Ichiban Sweet Boys of Kosei Fujita and Robbie Eagles winning the tournament, though they will be in a 4-way matchup for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag titles at Wrestle Kingdom, going up against the champions, the intergalactic jet setters of Kevin Knight and Kushida, the Bullet Club War Dogs, Clark Connors and Joe Maloney, and Catch 2-2, the team they beat in the Super Junior Finals, TJP and Francesco Akira. So we're going to talk about Super Junior Tag League. We're going to talk about World Tag League this coming Friday. And then, of course, as Sith mentioned earlier, we are doing a retro rewind on the weekly podcast of Survivor Series 1994. I started on it, but I haven't gone back to finish it. I'm dreading it so much because a lot of the wrestling that happened in the early to mid 90s just did not age well. And I think a lot of people who've been wrestling fans as long as Sith and I have will agree that a lot of that stuff didn't age very well. Hell, even a lot of the Attitude Era stuff, even though it was really good at the time, didn't age well and would not go over well now. So that's what's coming up with No Spots and everything like that. So make sure you follow us, twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod, if you want to check out the live streams. If you can't check out the live streams, audio goes up on Spotify and Amazon Music the very next day, or in this case, sometime this week. So make sure that you're checking all of that out. We appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. So I had heard a rumor, a couple of different rumors. I want to get your takes on some of them. One is that the WWE had signed somebody else within the family that would join Roman's side. Have you heard? 'Cause I know you said they were recruiting and stuff like that. Do you think it's going to be somebody from within WWE that we already know, or do you think it's going to be a surprise family member that's maybe been signed that hasn't been released yet?
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of rumors online about Zilla Fox 2, who is a part of the Anna Wahi family, possibly signing. Zilla has some ties to a WWE Hall of Famer, Booker T, after wrestling at Booker T's promotion and wrestling school, Reality Wrestling in Houston. So he kind of has a way in to the WWE based on his relationship and working with Booker T. And as we also talked about in the podcast, WWE now having this program known as the Independent Development Program, also known as WWE ID, where they are working with independent wrestling schools and promotions to help cultivate talent to possibly be signed by WWE. And Reality of Wrestling just happens to be one of the schools that received a WWE ID designation once this was announced. The other schools that were included in that designation include the Nightmare Factory, which is run by the undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes, the Black and Brave Academy, which is run by former World Heavyweight Champion Seth freaking Rollins. So they created this program. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Zilla Fox 2 that is the one that joins Roman's side, and that Hikuleo ends up joining the Bloodline side because of the fact that Tama Tonga and Tangaloa are his brothers in real life. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's on that side and that Zilla joins on the other side with Roman, because that's legit family right there. So if it is going to be somebody, I think it will be Zilla. Other than that, I can't foresee anybody else on the roster that would be the pick for Roman and the original Bloodline in this type of matchup of War Games.
Something cool just happened. So a Pokemon just spawned, and there was some secret ghost Pokemon that haunt my stream, and I had not caught this one. And it's a newer Pokemon, and when I caught it, the animation that is set to appear when you do the storyline for the ghost thing appeared. It's not that I catch it, but then it like appeared on stream, which is kind of cool. This happenstance that I caught one of the 10 mysterious ghosts of the stream. So that was kind of fun. If people were like, why did that graphic just suddenly appear? Is a little bit of behind the scenes and part of the fun games that you can play live over on Twitch where you can catch Pokemon and sometimes have random ghosts appear, and you can even make them appear. So an advantage of being a subscriber is you can haunt the stream if you like, if you know the right commands. So just small perks that I do for some of our subscribers and things of that nature. But yeah, it's exciting to see. The other rumor I want to get your take on real quick was do you think that these GMs, there was some talk that there might be a shuffle there with some of these GMs, especially as they move to Netflix, and then do you think that these are the GMs of the future, Or do you think that we may see a return of Stephanie McMahon on the blue brand, like I saw some rumors spouting this week?
I don't see Stephanie returning. I think she is completely content and happy not being a part of the family of the what was used to be the family business. I think she's content and happy being home, being a stay-at-home mom, and being a wife and supporting her husband, who's the head of creative and things like that. I think that these GMs that they have now are there to stay, and they're going to be there. There's no reason to do any shifting around when it comes to that. They're doing a great job of what they're doing on screen. So I wouldn't even change. I wouldn't change a thing, honestly. I would not change a thing, but that's just me.
Right. And do you believe that Raw will change much when it moves to Netflix? And if so, what do you think might we see that would be different?
I think that Raw will be a little bit more adult oriented because there's going to be little to no restrictions on Netflix, because when you're on network or even cable TV, you have to have a little bit of restraint because you have sponsors and stuff like that. Not to say that WWE won't have sponsors when they Raw, especially Raw won't have sponsors when they go to Netflix, but I think that they're going to have the restraints are going to be a little bit more looser in terms of the content when they're on Netflix, as opposed to being on, say, USA or any other broadcast or cable network. So I think that's the one change you'll see there, is that I think that the restraints are going to be a little bit looser when they go to the Netflix.
Do you think they'll still have commercial breaks in the conventional sense, or do you think you would have larger stretches without it because they no longer really need to support themselves that way?
If they have commercial breaks, it most likely will be on the on demand, because I know that when I usually go on, I haven't been on Netflix in a minute. Usually, like on Peacock, I know for Peacock, for their PLEs, if you don't have Peacock Premium Plus, when they do like the video rundowns for the matches, those that don't have Peacock Premium Plus get ads. You get commercials and stuff like that. And again, these are premium live events. Normally, premium live events, formerly known as pay-per-views, there are no commercials. The match ends, they talk, you go, you get a rundown of the next match, and then the next match comes out. But no, in this case, you get ads. So I would not be surprised if during the live stream of Raw, there are commercials, but I'm pretty sure that the on-demand version of Raw, once it's done streaming and it's available on demand, will most likely have ads.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. I just thought I'd give some people some insights to some of our thoughts. I know that it's not that far away, so we'll see what it ends up being. But it'll be fun to continue to talk about this journey and this ever growing thing. So I one last question about the war games. Do you think The Rock is going to have a play in this war games? Do you think
Absolutely.
you do?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what do you think his angle is going to be?
That I don't know. I don't know what his angle or his play is going to be, but I have a feeling he will be involved. I wholeheartedly do, because I don't think he's filming a movie right now. So I think he has the time to be able to be involved. XFL is still several months away from beginning. So I think that he'll have the time to be able to come in there and have some kind of input or some kind of involvement in the War Games matchup. I mean, after Cody and Roman won the tag match, he came out. He didn't do or say anything. He just came out, looked, did this, and walked off. And so that basically set the table for he's going to get involved in this some kind of way. And I think the best place to do it is Survivor Series, because of the fact that Survivor Series is a big four pay-per-view. You do the biggest, craziest stuff on your big four pay-per-view, and this one being the big four, I think that The Rock will have some involvement. Now, I'm keeping my expectations tempered when it comes to that, but just in the interim, I feel like, yes, I think The Rock will have some kind of involvement in this matchup.
I thought he was going to as well. I'm just surprised we haven't even seen like hints or anything. You know, I don't know. I thought because when he did the WrestleMania thing, you saw glimpses, right? Like you saw like build up, and I'm just surprised that we haven't seen any of that at this point. And I wonder what's the next big pay-per-view after this? Is it something that could start with this and draw towards the next one, or you know?
I believe that the Royal Rumble is the next PLE after Survivor Series. They have another special event after Survivor Series. It's the return of Saturday night's main event, but that's not a PLE. That's just a special event that's going to air on NBC and Peacock. But the next actual PLE is going to be the Royal Rumble, and that's not going to be until February and not January like it normally is. So the PLE schedule is going to be really weird. The start of 2025 because Royal Rumble's in February, Elimination Chambers in March, and that's going to be in Toronto. Also, WWE announced last week that the Road to WrestleMania tour, including Raw and SmackDown, is going to be taking place in Europe, not here in the States, in Europe. So the WWE superstars are going to spend, I think, 2+ weeks in Europe for Raw, SmackDown, and live events on the road to WrestleMania before they come back here and finish off the road to WrestleMania before they head to Las Vegas for WrestleMania, which is in the second week of April, second or third week of April, instead of like the first weekend of April.
Interesting. So it would be almost interesting to see if they do something with this one that builds to that Saturday night, thing. 'Cause they're gonna want a big draw or something for that NBC thing, something that's gonna be unique. And so I wonder if somehow they can lay some groundwork with him, because as you said, he's free now. When is that Saturday night event planned for?
What was that you said? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
The Saturday night special that's going to be on NBC. What month is that one planned for? Do you know?
December.
December.
It's in mid-December.
Yeah, so I
Mid-December
feel
is when
like
it's gonna happen.
if The Rock did something for this that could then build towards that, that would be interesting.
I don't think so. I think where they're gonna probably use the Rock at is more for the big events. Like I don't foresee the Rock being involved in WrestleMania, not WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, unless Roman is going to be involved or the Bloodline is going to be involved in some way, whether it's the Royal Rumble match itself or a match of some kind. That's when I could foresee the Rock possibly being involved. He'll most definitely be a part of WrestleMania, despite rumors to the contrary. But I don't foresee The Rock being involved in anything when it comes to Saturday night's main event. But then again, I could be totally dead ass wrong and things like that because they want to get a big number when it comes to the ratings for the return of Saturday night's main event on NBC and on Peacock. So I would not be surprised if I would be surprised. I can't say I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised if The Rock does make an appearance on Saturday night's main event. It's on Long Island, things like that. So who knows?
One last question about that and next year's scheduling. John Cena was going to do some sort of, retirement, tour sort of thing. When was that expected to start? Do you know?
I think it's expected to start at the Royal Rumble. I think I'm not 100% sure, but Cena did say he's going to do quite a few dates. He's not going to just do like 5 or 6 dates. I think the number I saw was like 32 dates, which doesn't seem like a lot when they're on the road over 200 days out of the year. But yeah, it looks like he's going to do 32 dates, including WrestleMania. So he's going to do at least WrestleMania and a couple other maybe a couple other PLEs and whatnot before finishing off in December and calling it a career in December of 2025.
Yeah, so that's right around the corner too. So I wonder if maybe not for the Saturday night thing, maybe that's still too soon, but they got to start building towards that too. So that'll be interesting. All right. Well, those were some of the questions I had. So I appreciate you for taking the time and breaking some of that down with me and the fans. And I think, I don't know, it's kind of a late night. Part of me is thinking about not rating tonight. I know it's a random, rare thing for me, but I'm just looking right here to
Oh
see.
my God. Jack Jack Del Rio was a senior advisor at Wisconsin's football program. He just resigned because he got cited for driving while intoxicated. Jesus Christ. The thing said he hit a road sign, a fence, and came to rest in someone's yard.
Oh my God.
I've seen enough body cam videos. Yeah, he definitely was hammered if he did that, because no sober person hits a street sign.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I think I am gonna call it a night tonight and not do a raid out. But Sith, Champ, I'm so happy I got to have you and Sith on, on a show again, and Tim and Arun have both of them returning back to the podcast, and as well as we had a great first hour with Gil and Anna as well. So really full show tonight. Lots of sort of the core group here, and it's kind of fun to just go back to basics and really talk about all the different sports. It's been a fun week of sports. I'm hoping the Commanders can get a huge win on Thursday, and the Caps can somehow pull out 2 out of 3 of these. Would be ideal, and maybe the Wizards can get a win so we can talk about them again in a more positive manner. But Champ, any final thoughts on? I know that it's about to end, but on Veterans Day before it strikes midnight here tonight.
Yeah, again, like this is the first Veterans Day that my father was not here for. It's very, very tough. And yeah, I mean, just want to say thank you to everyone that did serve and protect this country and give us the rights that we are afforded. And again, just thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I'll echo that, and I appreciate all of that both of my grandfathers did. My one of my grandfathers led a minesweeper in World War II. I know that this is really to celebrate. Initially, it was to celebrate World War One, but also all people who have served. And my grandfather was a codebreaker for the Army Security Agency, and we tried to get out of him all the stuff that he did, and he kept it with him until he passed at 90. So. He took it very seriously, with obviously, into the Cold War and stuff like that. So, um, but I appreciate both of them and anybody else who's my friends and family that have served this great country, and I really appreciate all the sacrifices that they made. For sure. So I just wanted to put that out there at the end of this show. With that, thank you, Champ. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of it. Next week, we'll have live hockey, basketball, and football that we'll be talking about, as well as recapping the Commanders game. It'll be the first time we're playing in Utah, Champ. So that'll be kind of a fun first experience that we can all do live. With that, I thank you everyone for tuning in for episode 354. And